as cruel as it is deceitful. Tragedy is ignored in pursuit of a happy mind. Those who seek more venture beyond the veil. They venture into the vortex.
Ain't no party like a Diddy party.
Everybody just passed out. Yo, Diddy had that man in the room.
Right now, he's having 48 hours with Diddy.
I got a chance to see some things.
Yeah, but you were 13. What were you saying?
I went there to see the lifestyle.
To get away with this kind of stuff he's been doing, it has to be a coordinated effort for people to be quiet.
My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video.
On September 16th, P. Diddy, one of the music industry's most powerful and influential people, was arrested. He was arrested in a Manhattan hotel lobby for, according to prosecutors, a criminal organization that attempted to or engaged in sex trafficking, forced labor, arson, bribery.
This morning, watch how federal agents took Sean Diddy Combs into custody. They placed Combs under arrest and lead him out the front door in handcuffs.
Diddy's lawyer, Mark Agnifilo, responded to these allegations by saying in a statement, "He is an imperfect person, but he is not a criminal. Please reserve your judgment until you have all the facts. These are the acts of an innocent man with nothing to hide, and he looks forward to clearing his name in court."
We're going to fight this case with everything we have, as is he.
Reserve your judgment until you have all the facts. Well, not to worry. In this video, we're covering absolutely everything we know about P. Diddy, whose real name is Sean Combs, his life and all the events leading up to his arrest, the music industry and Hollywood's most disturbing open secret.
I could think of you of starting a party at like midnight. Like what time will it go till?
That's a different type of party though. It'll go from like 9:30 to like maybe 3 o'clock, 2 or 3 o'clock. I mean the after party.
No, I know about that.
And this may be the most upsetting deep dive that I've done yet, so please prepare yourself. But how did we get here? It all started with a man who became obsessed with power, who climbed his way to the top of the music industry.
Listen, you're a motivating force for young people all across the country. Your music moves people. You're a trendsetter.
I've been able to have a lot of success and have a lot of impact in the music industry and in the entertainment industry.
Diddy used his power for ill to manipulate, abuse, and exert his power onto others.
Best personal trait, my compassion.
Being Diddy rich have you thinking you something that you're not.
Diddy roped others into his nasty web of abuse and lies, his circle of power, helping to create an insidious entertainment industry that seemingly thrives on lies, secrets, blackmail, and other horrific acts that most people would be absolutely horrified to know about. How deep does the story of Diddy go? And most importantly, how much influence did Sean Combs have on the music industry?
And why do you think his friends aren't coming forward to defend him?
Well, I think a lot of things that he's being charged with, a lot of things that he's being accused with is the norm. You know, I think that's part of Hollywood. I think that's a rich culture. And I think a lot of them is scared to come forward because this is what they've been doing for the last 10, 20, 30 years as if it's just a regular thing.
This is the horrifying story of P. Diddy and how he got away with it for so long.
Ain't no party like a Diddy party.
Hey, everybody know ain't no party like a Diddy party, so.
Yeah, that's what's up. Yeah. What's one misconception about you? There are no misconceptions about me.
I'm in a different outfit, so that means it's time for this video's sponsor. Sponsorships allow me to continue covering the topics that we cover on this channel, so I'm not as screwed if the video gets demonetized or copyright claimed, and can still support my team who puts an incredible amount of time and effort into the creations of these videos. Since most of you who view my content are adults, I also want to state that most of the sponsored content is tailored to an adult audience. And now let's talk about this video's sponsor, Parade. I can confidently say that Parade is now my favorite underwear brand, not only because of the softness and comfortability of their products and the diversity in what they offer, including this top that I'm wearing right now, but also their values as a brand. Parade makes products that encourage self-expression. Say I wanted to lounge by the fire, read a book, and be by myself in my cozy home, especially during these winter seasons. Parade's perfect rib long sleeve Henley and everyday lush button boy short, which I chose in the color Hot Honey, is absolutely perfect for that mood. The fabric is stretchy and soft, yet the fit is extremely cute and flattering. If I'm feeling more bold and daring, Parade's Replay Ultra Soft set in the color 8-ball color block not only accentuates my bold side, but allows me to feel super comfortable as well. You can tell that Parade is a woman-owned brand because it feels like every product was made with the thought of comfort first. Not only is everything super flattering on all body types, but it's also extremely comfortable. The straps don't irritate me the way that other bras do, and it feels like their products are genuinely thought out with every occasion in mind. On top of that, the Replay bra that I chose is only $24, the underwear only $10, which for the softness and quality I'm completely blown away by. I personally want to get even more colors of my existing sets during Parade's Black Friday sale because I'm wearing this all the time already. Parade has something for everyone: basics, lingerie, loungewear, sleepwear, and more. Whether buying for yourself or a loved one, now is definitely the time. So use my code HAPPYMIND50 for 50% off site-wide, no minimum purchase required. And thank you so much to Parade for sponsoring this video, which helps support the video creation process and gives us more room to improve our content. Because of the dark nature of this video, there will be many words that are censored, but I will try my best to put a censored version of the word also up on the screen. I recently got a new audio system, so about half of this video I have my old mic system and half I have new. And another thing I know some people get really annoyed with is when I quote something and then play a clip of that exact thing. So yeah, I'm not going to be doing that anymore. I totally understand how that can be annoying. Diddy's early life started out at a very different position than where he ended up later in life. P. Diddy was born Sean Combs on November 4th of 1969 in the Harlem neighborhood of New York City. Sean and his sister Keisha were raised by parents Janice and Melvin Earl Combs. His mother was a model and a teacher's assistant. His father served in the U.S. Air Force. But despite serving in the military, Sean Combs' father still had dangerous ties to the neighborhood, including convicted New York drug dealer Frank Lucas. And unfortunately, this lifestyle caught up with Sean Combs' father. His father was shot dead.
His father was murdered because he ratted out his team that he was working for.
And it seems like Sean spent the rest of his childhood without a father figure.
When I was growing up, my father was killed when I was 3 years old. He was in the streets. But when you grow up and you don't have a father there, it kind of creates what your destiny is going to be if your mother lets it be that way. My mother, she didn't let it be that way. And I was raised by two strong, beautiful, incredible women.
Growing up in a single-parent household, Sean received a lot of guidance through religion.
What's your biggest strength?
My belief in God.
He was raised Roman Catholic and served as an altar boy during his childhood. Now, hearing that Diddy was an altar boy may conjure up certain stereotypes, even known statistics about altar boys. While I certainly cannot make any claims about what Diddy experienced as a child, according to a 2004 research study, 4,392 Catholic priests and deacons in active ministry between 1950 and 2002 have been accused of underage sexual abuse. Most perpetrators of male sexual assault are men, and the perpetrators will both gay and straight men because the act in itself is an act of domination and aggression. Male sexual assault statistics have shown most males who experience sexual assault at any age do not automatically go on to become sexual abusers. This, in my opinion, is the most important thing to know, as it's important to show that no matter what may have happened to Diddy or what could have happened in his childhood, nothing excuses the abuse that Diddy would go on to inflict onto others through the numerous allegations that people have reported. Sean Combs developed clear exhibits of anger issues, so he was given the nickname Puffy, which would follow him around for most of his life. Whenever I got mad as a kid, I used to always huff and puff, Sean Combs told Jet magazine. I had a bad temper. That's why my friends started calling me Puffy.
How do I address you?
You can call me Love.
And you've referred to yourself differently over the years, so I gotta ask you, why so many name changes?
It depends on my mood, my vibe.
And Puff, where did that come from?
I can't tell you that.
Takes a guy that once name was Puffy. After every tragedy he had in his life, he had to change his name.
Once Diddy was 12 years old, his family moved out of Harlem into a different neighborhood in New York called Mount Vernon, New York. In an interview with Oprah, Diddy talked about moving away from Harlem. Until I was 12, I lived in Harlem. Then we moved to Mount Vernon, New York. That was Mom's way of getting us out of the inner city after my father was killed. But my grandmother lived in Harlem, so I went back and forth.
Yeah, just one of the things for the record, I was raised in Harlem. I grew up in Mount Vernon a little bit, but I always hung out in Harlem.
Sean Combs, through his passion for football, found a way to channel his puffy nature. Combs attended Mount St. Michael Academy, an all-boys Roman Catholic high school. He played football for the academy, and his team won the division title for his junior year. While researching this video, I was very curious about Diddy's time at Miriam Catholic High School and his time being an altar boy, especially due to the Catholic Church's immense history and all the connotations that come along with that. So we ended up finding out that priests at the school that Sean Combs went to were accused of sexual misconduct. New York Times wrote about this misconduct. A Roman Catholic priest and a Marist brother are facing charges involving sexual abuse of students at a parochial preparatory school in the Bronx. This indictment of these people involved with the church began in July of 1987 due to complaints of multiple teachers at the school of Mount St. Michael Academy, and the school's large campus borders on the Mount Vernon city line. One of the men convicted was Reverend Bernard Lynch, a former campus chaplain. Lynch was indicted on 2 counts of third-degree sexual abuse and 1 count of endangering the welfare of a child. And Brother Timothy Brady, the acting principal when the indictments occurred, was charged with 1 count each of third-degree sexual abuse and endangering the welfare of a child. But the most bizarre thing of all regarding this case is Bernard Lynch's attorney said that it was the boy who made a pass at Lynch, and the priest was found not guilty. I do just think that the connection is very interesting and worth making note of. Sean Combs also pursued dance and appeared as a background dancer for music videos for various artists and musicians. At this time, it appears that Sean was still a minor, but was dancing in the background for all of these artists and musicians. Again, children in the entertainment industry, there's a lot of connotations that come with that, but also, while Sean was doing this, he was getting an inside look at the industry. And while at rehearsals for some of these gigs, Sean Combs experienced the behind-the-scenes process for how music videos were put together. While some of the other kids were hyper-focused on the musicians, the artists, the stars, Sean began to take notice of their managers, people that he believed actually had all the power and controlled everything.
I one day got chosen to be in a music video because I was dancing in the clubs, and I kind of saw the guys behind the camera, and they had on the nice suits and they had the big cell phones, and they were legal, you know, because I was in And I was like, well, I'm about to go to college. I want to do whatever those guys are doing.
And Diddy was pretty much on point with that observation. We often hyper-focus on the faces in media that are presented to us, the stars, the media figures. We forget that there's an entire industry behind them carefully crafting and curating everything about their image. The managers, the faceless but powerful people working to fuel their stardom or at least help with behind the scenes aspects. Business executives who are helping open doors for them and ultimately controlling their destiny. For Diddy to notice at such a young age that these executives are the ones with all the power, and for him to decide at that young age that he wants to be an executive with this power instead of just the face or the figure, one of the stars in the spotlight, kind of demonstrates that Diddy was after power and control from a very young age. Sean Combs became more and more interested with how these people behind the scenes made everything happen. So he would ask them more and more questions to learn everything he could about this industry. Then in 1987, Sean Combs graduated high school and he enrolled at Howard University, HBCU in Washington, D.C., where he majored in business. While Sean Combs was in college, he continued to try to pursue a career in the music industry, seeing if he could get an internship at various different record labels. Then in 1989, Sean Combs' childhood friend and rapper Dwight Myers, known as Heavy D, was signed to the label Uptown Records. Heavy D introduced Sean Combs to the label's founder, Andre Harrell, who offered Sean a part-time internship.
I know that you was an intern. Andre Harrell said, you know, if you could go to LA and sign Christopher, nobody could really get him to sign a contract, you know, I'll give you a job. So I went and I met with Chris and I went and bought him a Porsche and I mean, I think he was trying to mind fuck me, but I don't think he really realized that I also knew the art of mind fucking. And so I got him to sign a contract and I got the job.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
He would work 2 days out of the week so he could get an education and work his dream job at a record label. And because of his new job, he now had to travel back and forth between New York and Washington, D.C. Sean was interning at the A&R department for Uptown Records for a year, traveling back and forth from New York City to Washington, D.C. so he could continue school at the same time when a new position opened up for A&R director at Uptown Records.
And then I was about to go back to school and I was interning. I was in the A&R department. That stands for Artists and Repertoire. We put the records together, pick the producers, sit down and shape the vision with the artists. Andre Harrell, who's the owner of Uptown, where I was interning at, was about to choose a new A&R director, so I took him out to lunch.
Sean Combs had clearly decided that this was the career path for him, and he withdrew from Howard University so that he could work full-time at Uptown Records.
And so I took Andre out to lunch and I asked him, I said, you're making music for young people. I am the demographic, I'm the person that you're making music for. Nobody, every time you want to know information about a record, you'll come play it for me. Just give me the chance, give me the opportunity, give me a trial period to do this. And you know, the first couple of records that I worked on sold millions of records.
According to Sean, his boss Harrell was receiving a lot of scrutiny for hiring such a young and kind of unqualified kid.
He had got a lot of flack because he was the first one to really start putting young people in a power position in the music industry. So he got a lot of flack because most of the A&R people back then was like 25, 26, or even 30, 40.
Harrell claimed to believe in the youth and most of all Sean Combs, who did quickly start to excel in his position and helped Uptown Records develop and popularize hip-hop and R&B. Though it seems now that more information has come out, this period in Sean Combs' life was not simply just him being a scholar or excelling in the music industry, as the story may have initially been sold to the public. May 29th, 2024, the Rolling Stone published an article detailing Diddy's behavior throughout college.
Howard, thanks for just always being a support system for me. Shout out to everybody in all of the black schools across America. It's a family type of vibe that has helped me to become the man I am today.
The article talked about how Sean Combs arrived at the esteemed college in the fall of 1987 and quickly earned a reputation for throwing legendary and rowdy parties. While some alums remember Combs for his once-in-a-lifetime bashes and over-the-top flamboyant personality, others recall fits of rage, acts of unwanted touching, and public violence. One of the former students claimed that Sean Combs would turn up to his girlfriend's English class to try and get her to ditch the lesson. The student who sat next to the woman in class said that she would tense up when Combs arrived. Her energy shifted. He just had a weird control thing. I felt like she was fearful. Another classmate said that she kept as far away from Combs as possible after he caressed her back, then asked if she'd be willing to meet one of his friends. Another former student remembers Sean Combs flying off the handle after she questioned him for cutting in line at the school cafeteria. Sean's partner and peers likely avoided reporting him because they feared retaliation. He was unstable and completely unpredictable, exerting a troubling level of control over others at such a young age. Sean Combs was also popular within the community, gaining connections to high-profile individuals within the music industry, so it's possible that his victims might not have trusted the legal system to protect them.
He made a $1 million donation to the school. 7 News caught up with Diddy after the performance to talk about the significance of this weekend.
This school has given me so much. I feel it's I feel like it's the most important black educational institution ever. And so we as alumni have to keep pouring our seed back into it, keep on investing back in the home. And so, I'm blessed to be able to do it.
On December 28, 1991, P. Diddy, who was going by Puff Daddy, headlined a charity basketball game located in the City College of New York gymnasium. This gym had a capacity of 2,700, but 5,000 people showed up for this charity game, which we know way more people showing up than capacity always goes well. The reason why these 5,000 people showed up is because they were trying to purchase the extra 1,200 tickets at the door that were being sold for $20, according to a New York Times report.
You did security when this situation happened, but tell me about the City College Stampede that took place where 9 people died, because I know you blame Diddy for that situation.
Puff called me and said, yo, Gene, we only need 8 guys. You don't cut security to save $1.
The event also had poor organization, with only one door open for the event organizers to collect the tickets and frisk attendees. This created a really slow process of allowing people into the gym, which started to aggravate the crowd, especially as the start time for the game approached. The game was supposed to start by 6 p.m., but the bleachers were nearly filled and the game still hadn't started by 7 p.m., so tensions began to reach a boiling point. Organizers closed the door to the building's entrance and pandemonium erupted. The ticket collector just went inside the gym and shut the door. So all of a sudden, this crowd of people had absolutely nowhere to go and were trapped. Suddenly, they were being slammed up against the door by unaware people at the top of the stairs who just continued to press forward.
Mourning the loss of, and I'll quote, young, strong, powerful, precious African lives. Lives taken not by enemies, not by flawed security, but by us who didn't look out for each other, by us who didn't think about the African lives at the bottom of the stairs. Do you blame the crowd itself at all?
Injured people were scattered on the bottom of the stairwell and being trampled on. According to the Washington Post, it took an agonizing 15 minutes before anyone realized what was going on. And during this time, the game was in full swing. The doors to the gym finally opened. Those inside said people were packed up against the walls and pressed in like sardines. An announcement came over the intercom that said that 3 people had now died and the game was now over, instructing people to leave the area, which just triggered another stampede as people rushed to leave the gym. I'm sure freaked out about everything that was happening. People were just pushing down other people. People on the bottom were getting trampled. People jumped off the bleachers and crushed them. 9 people were crushed to death at the bottom of the staircase, and 29 people were injured. It does not take an Einstein to know that young people attending a rap concert camouflaged as a charity basketball game, who have paid as much as $20 a ticket, would not be very happy and easy to control if they were unable to gain admission to the event because it was oversold. State Judge Louis C. Benza wrote in a 1999 decision that ruled that Sean Combs was partially responsible and could be held liable in a civil suit.
In this particular case, greed and gain were major issues in the loss of those 9 lives.
Sean Combs has addressed his culpability for the Harlem Stampede in 1998. City College is something I deal with every day of my life, but the things that I deal with can in no way measure up to the pain the families deal with. I just pray for the families and pray for the children who lost their lives every day. A documentary titled No Way Out was produced by one of the victims, Dirk Swain's younger brother.
My brother Dirk died at the Heavy D Puff Daddy celebrity basketball game. From that day on, part of me died.
Sean Combs found a home at Uptown Records under the guidance of founder Andre Harrell.
For Jodeci tonight, Mary J. Blige, and Father MC. And all put together by Protege. Yes, Puffy.
At Uptown Records, Sean Combs developed talent like Mary J. Blige.
I started working with different rappers like Father MC. And then on his album, I put Mary J. Blige and Jodeci on the album. And the singles that they sang on and rapped on had went gold, so that was good.
In an interview with People, Mary J. Blige talks about Puff. He wanted all of this for me more than I wanted it myself. He was such a good thing for me because I needed what he had, to be excited to be seen, to have the lights on him. But it took some years to grow into that. Because of all of his early successes at such a young age at Uptown Records, Sean Combs described himself as a wonder kid at Uptown.
People keep calling me a wonderkind. I don't even know what that means. I mean, I know what it means. It means very successful for your age. So I guess it makes sense.
In an interview, when talking about his early success at Uptown, he said, "The first record I produced sold 2 million copies, and I'd only produced it because the producer didn't show up. My talent is definitely a gift. I don't understand where it comes from. I don't play an instrument, and I never went to school for music production, but I know exactly how a song should sound and how to give an artist direction."
When in your career did it change from people like maybe doubting you and saying that you couldn't do it to the point where whatever you do, you have to be like so, perfect at it or as close to perfect as possible, where people have all these high expectations? Like, when did that change for you? Like, where?
I think it changed, like when I sold 10 million records, people just started acting different, so the expectations were higher.
However, in July of 2013, Sean Combs was fired from Uptown because of his growing ego and his desire for power.
Discovered Sean Combs. You made him your A&R man at Uptown. You fired him.
Even when I let Puff go, for the whole time he was let go, he was always on payroll. I never stopped paying him until he found his next spot. His artists were always still getting per diem. Because I didn't do it to hurt him, but
Obviously.
I knew it was time for him to grow.
Interesting that from such a young age, those aspects of Diddy were such strong red flags that even the first label, who really believed in him, also let him go because he had too big of an ego and too much of a desire for power, an aspect of Diddy's personality that would only increase over time. Sean Combs told Oprah, "I was very passionate and I didn't understand protocol or workplace politics, so I got fired because there can't be 2 kings in one castle. I wasn't wasn't trying to be disrespectful to Andre, but I was fighting so hard. He wanted it to be more diplomatic and to make sure everybody felt involved.
I started really getting caught up in my success. Started getting a little too big for my britches. And, you know, I was in a castle that already had a king. And I was really, you know, I was running around with the crown on, butt naked. You know, I'm just going, you know, you gotta understand, I'm like 22 years old. I'm a vice president. I'm the hottest, youngest thing in me. There's nobody young African-American in the music industry selling these numbers of records. You know, I'm hanging out of limos, naked. I'm really going crazy. And, you know, I get fired.
Getting fired was one of the best things that could have happened to me. Not a wake-up call, not a sign that he should maybe chill. No, getting fired was one of the best things that could have happened for Diddy. After Diddy was fired from Uptown Records, he utilized all the business lessons that Andre Harrell taught him. He could go on to create his own successful independent record label. There can't be two kings in one castle, so Sean Combs decided to build his own castle. Sean Combs founded his own record label, Bad Boy Records, in 1993.
It's Bad Boy. I am Diddy.
Now, as a record label owner, Sean could shape the artistic direction of his own label. Sean had all the control in his own hands.
Bad Boy Entertainment. I named it Bad Boy because I wanted to go against the grain. Anytime you go against the grain, they consider you like kind of bad.
What is a bad boy? Why did he choose that name? Could be bad business, bad friendships, bad blood, all of that kind of bad stuff. You know what I'm saying? Bad boy.
Sean could sign whatever artists he wanted and do whatever he wanted with them.
Blah, blah, blah. Come on, people, keep up, keep up, keep up. Oh, who's this?
No.
Who's this? Who's this? Who's this? Say what's up to the people.
Hi, people.
Say what's up to the people.
The label quickly became one of the most successful and influential in hip-hop and R&B.
Sean Combs has turned his company, Bad Boy Entertainment, into an empire.
Bad Boy Records developed a really strong brand identity as well, identifying with the glamorous lifestyle associated with the hip-hop industry. The label's brand emphasized luxury and sophistication, from album covers to music videos, aka, in my opinion, the brand became all about power and showcasing how much power they had. Though Sean Combs had a thirst for power and control at a very young age, where did he learn all of the extremely dark tactics that he began to deploy later down the line? One name that's been continually conjured up alongside this conversation is the name Clive Davis, mainly because Clive Davis was a huge initial contributor in the success of Bad Boy Records. Clive Davis was also known to be Sean Combs's mentor, and in 1994, Sean Puffy Combs and Clive Davis entered a 50-50 joint venture that resulted in the creation of Bad Boy Records, aka Clive Davis was the initial investor of Bad Boy Records. I also wanted to note at this time, because the name L.A. Reid will come up a lot in this video. Remember when the name L.A. Reid comes up. Clive Davis also worked with L.A. Reid in a similar capacity. Clive made an agreement with L.A. Reid and Babyface, and the three of them formed LaFace Records in 1989. So all of these producers and executives that have been named in reports which claim that they've participated in disturbing activities, which we'll talk about later in this video, are all connected like a web or a family tree. And at the very top of this hierarchy is the patriarch Clive Davis. Alongside LaFace Records, Bad Boy became the most popular hip-hop and R&B label throughout the 90s, with a shelf full of Grammys, Soul Train, and other industry awards. In its first 3 years, Bad Boy amassed more than 12 million album sales, including 5 RIAA multiple platinum titles and 10 RIAA gold. Clive Davis also came out as a bisexual man.
When the marriage failed in the mid-'80s, I opened myself up to the possibility that I could have a relationship with a man.
You're in a relationship with a man right now.
Right.
Do you think do you hope that bisexuality will be better understood as a result of your honesty?
I honestly do have that hope.
And Clive first revealed his sexuality in his autobiography, The Soundtrack of My Life. While this revelation and vulnerability on the part of Clive Davis is very brave, after much of the recent news that has surfaced surrounding Diddy, many people began to speculate on the true nature of the relationship between Sean Combs and Clive Davis. Clive Davis is often very vague about his relationships, which everyone has a right to do, and he's also vague about whether or not he's had a relationship with a man in the music industry.
For 13 years, you had a relationship with a doctor, a male doctor.
That's right. Right.
And then you met someone else, and...
Well, I dated. I dated a few women and a few men, and I met a man that I'm currently in a relationship with.
The two have been together for 7 years, but Davis says he doesn't name him in the book out of respect for his privacy.
Does he go to the Grammy party? I mean, is he part of your life in a full way?
Oh, very much. I mean, he does, and sure he does. Sure he does. Yeah, and if I go with my family take a boat, as we do every year, he goes with, I
don't necessarily believe that baseless speculation is healthy, especially in a case like Sean Combs, where it can muddy the water on what is true and what is not. But rapper Suge Knight has come forward with his own allegations that Clive Davis and Sean Combs were in a relationship.
Clive Davis called me, and him and Puffy is real tight, and loved us. So I thought he was talking like they got love for each other. All right, he said, yeah, they all love it.
Now, a lot of people who used to once be involved in Diddy's close circle or within the music industry are now coming forward in video interviews making a lot of claims about Diddy. While I may feature some of those in this video, I want to reiterate that I am not necessarily saying that I agree with their statement, and also it may be healthy to take some of these claims with a grain of salt. I also want to reiterate to not believe every single thing that you hear about the Diddy case, because there has been a lot of misinformation being spread. Regardless of the extent of the personal relationship between Sean Combs and Clive Davis, I think it's important to note the way Clive Davis acted after all of the allegations came out about Diddy. Clive Davis still invited Sean Combs to his pre-Grammy party, even when Sean Combs was facing backlash for allegations. A source familiar with the guest list told Page 6, Puffy is permanently invited to the party. He's always on the list. Power, money, influence, and most of all, continued silence.
You were a major influence on his career. Have you spoken to Sean Combs? Any comment, Mr. Davis? What do you make of the allegations against P. Diddy? Any comments about Diddy? He credits you as one of his mentors.
Regardless of the extent of the relationship between Sean Combs and Clive Davis, Sean Combs would have never been able to build Bad Boy Records into the powerhouse of the record label it became without the help of someone like Clive Davis. And with all the money and success that he gained and more power, Diddy made sure to show it off, continuing to showcase his power, signing the most popular hip-hop and R&B artists. Showing off was the cornerstone of Bad Boy Records because it communicated that they had power and they weren't afraid to show it. All this power that Diddy had worked his entire life to accumulate, he now had enough connections, money, fame, and industry credit to showcase it. And boy, did he showcase it. At this stage of his life, Diddy was always seen dressed in expensive clothing and tailored suits. Multiple revenue streams from the record label, album sales, streaming royalties, licensing deals, merchandise sales, concert tickets, all collectively made Sean Combs one of the richest men in the music industry. Bad Boy Records played a substantial role in shaping the cultural landscape of the hip-hop and R&B music industry in the late 1990s. Still, Sean Combs' dark personality was an undercurrent throughout all of this. In an article published by Rolling Stone, co-founder and former president of Bad Boy recalled jealous Uptown executives referring to Sean Combs as Satan and flipping him off as they walked by his offices in the Uptown building. And Bad Boy sources say that Sean Combs was very difficult to work for. Employees who wanted to stick around had to learn how to speak puffy.
Native, American gangster,
Yeah, you see it. Check this out. People, life could be worse. Life could be worse. Think about it. It could be worse. All right?
Sean Combs often yelled to get his point across and then fired employees on a whim.
Working for Diddy for 6 years trained me to have to be perfect.
Working for Diddy?
Absolutely.
He's a good guy.
Is
he a good guy?
I don't want to answer that question.
Oh, wow. I think he's a good guy. I'm going to stick up for him.
No one on his team at Bad Boy spoke back to him. Former Daddy's House studio manager Felicia Newsome said no one challenged him. Another source recalled he was so volatile. He's always on the edge of snapping and being scary. People did whatever he said to stay in his good graces, and Puppy exploited people's desires to be in those environments.
Very arrogant, selfish. All of those kind of things that you don't like, you don't never see in a true friend or a grown man.
And to share maybe a not so amazing moment that you remember about Diddy.
Him signing me.
So Sean Combs found a way to use his hunger for power, his massive ego, his anger issues, and his need to control and channel it into the perfect outlet through having a domineering role as the leader of a record label. Sean himself noted when he was younger, it's the producers themselves that control everything behind the scenes, but they would have nothing to control without the artists. Sean's most important artists on his label was the rapper Biggie.
What do you think Biggie's legacy is?
Biggie's legacy is that he is the greatest of all time.
One of the label's most important MVP artists, Biggie played a central role in shaping the label's sound and image.
Discover a guy named Christopher Wallace?
Yes.
AKA Biggie. Sold 4 million the first time. Things are going great.
But Biggie had a very tragic and public demise, which Sean Combs also played a role in.
When tragedy hits you, when obstacles hit you, you have to fight through them.
Biggie's demise can be traced all the way back to the East Coast-West Coast rivalry, a highly publicized feud that dominated the hip-hop landscape in the 1990s, which pitted artists, record labels, and fans from the East Coast, mainly New York City, against those from the West Coast, mainly Los Angeles. The rival was most notoriously fueled by hip-hop artist Tupac Shakur and his label Death Row Records, Biggie Smalls, and their label Bad Boy Records. Tupac was a valued member of the music industry in the Black community, influencing millions for decades and generations, even after his death. Tupac Shakur was born in East Harlem in New York City. His childhood was marked by instability and hardship. Then, in 1986, Tupac moved to Baltimore, Maryland, where he went to the Baltimore School for the Arts.
It wouldn't work because I was too nice. That was the ultimate stab in the back. So I went through a week of just going, forget it, I'm just going to be like them.
And then in 1988, Tupac's family moved to Marin City, California, and he began experimenting with hip-hop and recording music under the name MC New York. Tupac met Lila Steinberg through poetry classes.
We need a rapper that is about social justice. One day, LaWanda, who was one of our group members, said there was a kid that just came from Baltimore. And he was it.
She got him signed to Atron Gregory, who was a manager of the rap group Digital Underground. And Tupac joined the group Digital Underground as a backup dancer turned rapper, which eventually led to his solo career. Then Tupac met Biggie Smalls for the first time on the set of Poetic Justice, in the early 1990s. In a later interview, Biggie recalled meeting Tupac saying, "I always thought it was like a Gemini thing. We just clicked off the top and were cool ever since." It's sad to think that in another reality, Biggie and Tupac could have possibly been really good friends, if not for influences around them. Biggie Smalls' background had many parallels to Tupac's. He was born in the Brooklyn borough of New York City as Christopher Wallace. He was raised by a single mother, and his early life was marked by financial difficulty.
We was broke. My clique was broke. It's so hard growing up in the hood, so people don't really understand.
How was it in Brooklyn?
It's hard. Hard sardines. Sardines for dinner. Black and white TVs.
He attended Queen of All Saints Middle School, where he was known to be a bright student who enjoyed English. By the time Biggie reached high school, his interests quickly changed.
Just being in a situation where my mom's working, going to school, just leaving me open to dip and dab into different things, you know what I'm saying? It just left me kind of stuck. My mentality was more on some getting paper, not caring about nothing else.
In his teens, Biggie was rapping on street corners and performing with local groups. He turned his full attention to music and created a demo tape under the name Biggie Smalls, after a character in the 1975 film Let's Do It Again.
Biggie Smalls.
What is this on a car?
While seeking talent for Uptown Records, younger Sean Puffy Combs stumbled on the demo tape of Biggie's and helped Christopher sign with Uptown in the summer of 1992. Puffy then swayed Biggie to join his new label, signing him for only $25,000.
When Puffy asked me to do this, he told me to take my life and put it into an album, you know what I'm saying? And that's what I did, and that's what I'm going to continue to do. The truth hurts. You know, that's just the way it has to be.
Biggie and Tupac quickly became the new big influences on the hip-hop scene. The two of them became close. One of Tupac's close associates, Lil Cease, even recalled the pair regularly traveling together in their free time.
How close did they really get in real life?
Man, it was close, though. Close. They really bonded.
Biggie and Tupac were becoming more and more well-liked within the industry. Though they were initially friends, it's hard to say whether or not industry pressures got the best of them. As Diddy has said, there can't be two kings in the castle.
Tupac article had me pissed off, you know what I'm saying? And you're real confused about your situation. So it'll cause you to say things that you really don't mean.
In November of 1994, Tupac arrived at a recording studio in Manhattan. Biggie and Sean Combs were already at this recording studio working on music. Tupac and his crew reached the elevator. They were approached by 3 gunmen, which resulted in him being shot 5 times and robbed of $40,000 worth of jewelry. Tupac believed that Biggie and Sean Combs, who were at the studio, were responsible. So of course, after this studio incident, Biggie and Tupac's friendship quickly soured. Tupac openly accused Biggie and his record label, Bad Boy Records, as well as Sean Puffy Combs, of having prior knowledge of the shooting, which they vehemently denied.
It's different accounts of what happened, and I'm the one with the wounds. I was there for the whole thing.
And that entire incident instigated an entire feud which tore the hip-hop community apart.
With the East Coast, West Coast thing, like I told some before, it's just a situation where it was just me and Pac had our little differences or whatever, and we kind of was so powerful as far as like artists that we could wage something like that. But I'm here to take over.
Around this time, Biggie released the song Who Shot Ya, which many people thought was a reference to the shooting, kind of rubbing salt in the wound. Though Biggie and Puff denied that the song was in reference to Tupac.
The rumors that's spreading is on some tip like we set them up, you know what I'm saying? And that's crazy.
The subject matter and timing of the song's release enraged Tupac. Though, according to rapper Napoleon from Outlaws, Sean Combs, Puffy, intentionally released Who Shot Ya.
Puffy, who wanted to take advantage of Pac being, you know, in a bad situation, he's the one that said, put it out now, instead of thinking about the consequences that can come with it. Because a lot of these music execs, they don't care about lives. As long as it's going to bring them money, they want to do it.
Former Bad Boy Records president Kirk Burroughs relayed the same message.
How my former business partner operates. He operates on a few different levels. One level, the masses will understand. Then there's a higher level, principalities and power bases.
But the decision to release this song started a butterfly effect that heightened the infamous East Coast versus West Coast rivalry. Maybe it was done for marketing reasons and to promote all of the music that was being made, but it ended up having real life consequences.
I kind of realized how powerful Tupac and I was. We waged a coastal beef.
West Coast record executive Suge Knight, basically the West Coast version of Sean Combs, struck a deal with Tupac, signing him. Fast forward to February 13th of 1996, and Tupac releases his highly anticipated fourth studio album, All Eyes on Me. And this album received widespread acclaim from critics and was a massive commercial success, selling 566,000 copies in its first week. On June 4th of 1996, Tupac released his infamous diss track, Hit 'Em Up, which would go down as one of the most lethal diss tracks in hip-hop history, maybe now only apart from Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us, which, now that I think about it, has to do with a lot of similar themes. Interesting how history repeats itself. So this hip-hop feud between Biggie and Tupac wasn't exactly boding well for Biggie and Bad Boy Records. This particular diss track put Biggie, Puffy, and Bad Boy Records in a really bad position.
There's no dream of making an album with Biggie and Puffy, or none of them. We're not sweating it like that. They sell records, we sell records. Well, I guess you could call that selling records, what they do. We sell large amounts of records, and they sell a few records. And the East Coast, West Coast thing is something that the journalists and people are making that.
According to Sean Combs' bodyguard, Gene Deal, Puffy wanted the feud to stop.
He said, yo, Gene, I got 126 employees, and these people depend on me for their livelihoods. He said, I'm a businessman. I'm about making money, but something gotta change.
Unfortunately and tragically, the feud would reach its end on September 13th of 1996. Tupac was attending a Mike Tyson boxing match in Las Vegas. He was riding in a car with Suge Knight when a white Cadillac pulled up beside him and opened fire. Tupac ended up passing away, leaving the hip-hop community brokenhearted. People immediately pointed fingers at Biggie and Puffy. Dwayne Keith Davis did admit in 2018 that he and his nephew, Orlando Anderson, were in the infamous white Cadillac that night, and that one of them was the shooter.
Orlando Anderson's the one that was in the backseat of the white Cadillac that pulled up alongside and shot Tupac. So you've got Combs, Martin, Keefy D, who was also in that white Cadillac.
But to this day, Dwayne Keith Davis is the only person charged with the of Tupac Shakur. Davis was arrested on September 29th of 2023. Dwayne Keith Davis himself allegedly claims that Sean Combs offered him $1 million for the murder of Tupac. Dwayne Keith Davis has made allegations against Sean Combs for the last 15 years, but Sean Combs has not been named in any investigations into Tupac.
So Orlando shot across Dre? He leaned over on the window, we rolled down the window, popped.
After leaving the 1997 Soul Train Awards, Biggie was riding in the front seat of a Chevrolet Suburban SUV, with his entourage following closely behind. As they were waiting at a red light, a dark Chevrolet Impala pulled up right beside them. An unknown assailant rolled down the window to the car and fired multiple shots at Biggie's car. Biggie was hit numerous times, sent to the hospital in critical condition, eventually passed away that night. Similar to Tupac, Biggie's death sent shockwaves through the hip-hop community. Despite still being an unsolved case, various theories have emerged. Diddy claimed that it was Biggie's choice to be in LA despite the East Coast-West Coast rivalry, but Bad Boy Records co-founder and former president Kirk Burroughs claimed that Biggie originally had planned to travel overseas to London at the time, but that Diddy had overruled those plans and even canceled Biggie's flight to record the album No Way Out, which Sean Combs released after Biggie's death. When the men in Diddy's car realized that someone was pointing a gun at Biggie, everyone turned around to see what was going on besides Diddy, who immediately ducked his head as if he knew what was going to happen and wanted to protect himself just in case.
Only one person ducked, and that was Puff. Everybody else was trying to look back or was looking back at the situation.
Diddy's vehicle, which was in front of Biggie's at the time of the shooting, ran the red light instead of staying behind.
It was something that really hurt me, you know what I'm saying? I'm still hurt by it, and I had to fight, really.
Allegedly, Biggie got educated on the financial side of the music industry and also realized that Diddy was pocketing more money than he initially had thought.
Big needed him just as much as he needed Big. And I think that it was basically just a business type situation. Puff had robbed Big and Big was robbing Puff. Big seen how through his management, Puff was robbing him and had robbed him out of his publishing and his marketing.
Biggie's mother, Voletta Wallace, has repeatedly expressed her distrust of Diddy, telling her son that Sean Combs did not have his best interest at heart. In her memoir titled Biggie, Voletta Wallace remembers her son. She wrote, "The truth is, Christopher accepted the illusion of a friend and mentor for about $25,000. That's the amount Puffy lured my son with. That was a lot of money for Christopher back then as a 19-year-old. He had never seen that much at one time in his life. It was enough money to make my son believe that Puffy was ready to do anything for him." And in that same memoir, Voletta said that she was glad her son does not have to witness that the very people that he thought he could ride and die without wouldn't think twice about using his mother. "I'm glad he's not here to see how they have used his image and his name," citing how both Sean Combs and Lil Kim have used Biggie's image after his death.
So for us, it's always about the legacy, and it's always about assuring that we stay true to what he would do.
Gotcha.
Close as we could.
So much between Biggie and Tupac and Sean Puffy Combs' involvement is all alleged speculation. There are even more credible sources of the violence that he enacted within the music industry. In April of 1999, Sean Combs entered the office of rapper Nas's former manager Steve Stoute and attacked him. The attack was sparked by a dispute over Nas's latest music video, in which Sean Combs had a cameo. Sean Combs was having second thoughts over a scene in the music video that he helped conceive, that he thought of and put together, in which he was being crucified on a cross with a crown of thorns.
Puffy got mad about the video when he was put on a cross.
Columbia Records delivered the music video to MTV and it was posted at 1 p.m. on April 15th. As the music video was rolling, Steve Stoute said he got an irate call from Sean Combs, where he just screamed into the phone and then hung up. When the phone rang again and Steve Stoute answered it, it was an executive at Bad Boy telling him that Sean Combs was on his way and that he was angry. About 10 minutes later, security cam footage showed Sean Combs entering the 10th floor of Universal's headquarters. Steve Stoute claimed that Sean Combs walked up to his desk and without even saying a word, punched him in the face. Sean Combs then beat Steve Stoute to the ground with a telephone in front of all of his associates. Steve Stoute was later taken to the hospital for his injuries after the police interviewed him. "My jaw and my head were all swollen. I couldn't move my arm. It was a traumatic experience, and in the middle of it, I didn't know exactly how to feel. I was upset, embarrassed, scared, angry. As far as I'm concerned, this was an attempt on my life." Despite denying any wrongdoing, Sean Combs eventually turned himself in. The next day, on April 16th of 1999, he was arrested on charges of assault and freed on only $15,000 bail. If this kind of behavior is allowed to go unpenalized, it'll be like an invitation for extortion in the music business. Steve Stoute, very intuitively, I might add, said, "If somebody can get away with walking into the headquarters of the world's biggest record company and beating up a senior executive over a disagreement, I guarantee you this is going to be a great business for criminals to thrive in." And wouldn't you know, that quote ended up foreshadowing the rest of Diddy's career. In June of 1999, Sean Combs reached an out-of-court settlement with Steve Stoute for $500,000. Originally charged with assault, instead, Sean Combs just pled guilty to a charge of harassment. He was sentenced to spend 1 day in anger management. 1 day. Wow, the criminal justice system is really, really doing its work here to those with immense money, power, and influence. Do you think that 1 day in anger management really did its work on Sean Combs? Well, let's see about what ended up happening later on in his life and see if anger management really came into play. late December of 1999, Sean Combs, his then girlfriend Jennifer Lopez, his bodyguard Anthony Wolf Jones, and his 21-year-old protege rapper Jamal Shine Barrow appeared at Club New York in Times Square, Manhattan.
Club New York, a Manhattan night spot near Times Square.
It was not a private event. Jennifer Lopez was here, Puffy Combs was here. There were a lot of professional athletes here. It was a great party.
It was weird that Puff and Jennifer were at that club because that was kind of like a very regular hip hop club. No A-list celebrities go there.
An argument broke out that resulted in gunfire. According to a New York Times report, 3 completely innocent bystanders were struck, which sent all other club-goers into a complete panic.
Puffy and Shine allegedly got into an argument with another partier shortly before 3 a.m. Someone tossed a wad of cash at Combs as a sign of disrespect. Suddenly, all hell broke loose.
No one suffered any life-threatening injuries, but still a serious crime was committed at this club. Sean Combs, Jennifer Lopez, and Anthony Jones found their chauffeur and left the club. Sean Combs' chauffeur, Fenderson, waited outside the club. He suddenly saw club-goers running outside the venue, screaming that there was a shooting. He finally spotted Sean Combs and one of his bodyguards, but Sean said he wouldn't leave without Jennifer. Then a short while later, Jennifer Lopez ran out of the club with Anthony Jones. 3 of them jumped into the Navigator. The driver wove past 2 police cars and blew through red lights to get away from the scene. And when police tried to pull him over, he claimed that Sean Combs and Jennifer Lopez told him to keep driving. The driver even said he was scared of the 2 of them.
According to police reports, the couple jumped into the backseat of his SUV. Puffy's driver and his bodyguard were in front. Officers arrived as the SUV pulled away. They ordered the driver to stop. Instead, he swerved around a patrol car and led cops on an 11-block chase.
But the driver finally pulled over on 54th Street, where the police had boxed him in. The cops found a gun under Anthony Jones's seat, and Sean Combs and Anthony Jones allegedly tried to bribe their driver into saying that the gun was his in exchange for $50,000, which is equivalent to a little over $94,000 today. The driver spent 19 hours in jail. The charges against Jennifer Lopez were quickly dropped. The police allegedly realized that she had no involvement in the shooting.
So sitting there, being handcuffed to a bench, and I do remember feeling the comfort of someone caring about you enough that, they just wanted to make it okay.
Meanwhile, everyone else in the car faced charges related to gun possession. Sean Combs and Anthony Jones were ultimately acquitted.
If you or I went into a car and sat in the back seat and a gun was found in the front, all cases would be dismissed.
I want to say to you all face to face, I had nothing to do with a shooting that night in a nightclub, nor did Jennifer.
However, a New York jury found Sean Combs' 21-year-old protege, Jamal Shine Barrow, guilty of 5 charges. Barrow was sentenced and served nearly 9 years for these charges. But as for the itself, no one was ever arrested or found guilty for it, though Sean Combs and Jennifer Lopez separated shortly after this incident, and Jennifer Lopez has remained pretty quiet about the details surrounding her and Sean Combs' relationship. In a July interview with British Elle in 2000, she said it was a complete nightmare. I was scared to death in the car. I had absolutely no idea what was going on. No one did. The driver also claimed to have suffered from PTSD following everything. Driver sued Sean Combs, and Combs settled the lawsuit, paying the driver $3 million, though the terms of the settlement remain confidential. All 3 bystanders that were struck during the incident were paid by Sean Combs, and the exact terms of the settlement remain unknown because of the confidentiality agreements between the parties. However, former Club New York owner Michael Burgos, who did not sign the confidentiality deal, revealed the alleged settlement payouts. And the most seriously injured victim, Tanya Rubin, was paid $1.8 million. But despite receiving a settlement, Rubin has been adamant that Sean Combs was actually the one behind the shooting, even though a jury acquitted him.
You have said since really right after the shooting that it was P. Diddy who shot you. I mean, I think you even said it to the doctor that night, right?
I said it immediately. I literally watched them pull out the guns. I've had a clear point of view. I mean, for God's sake, I got shot in my nose. I was facing them directly. I think in our society, we have respectability politics. There are people who want to be adjacent to power or celebrity or money, and there's a hierarchy of respectability. Because his name was more notable, he was believed.
According to the Washington Post, Rubin even testified during the trial that she watched Diddy pull out a black gun.
When one of the victims took the stand and claimed that she had seen Puffy with a gun that night, Puffy started to believe he could lose the case.
I was shot in my face, and I never expected to be a part of such a reckless act of violence.
When it's all over, whenever that is, whatever happens, it'll be a very happy day once it's not something we have to think about.
People sustaining lifelong injuries, taking the fall, intense trauma and PTSD. All the while, Sean Combs moves on and continues to gain massive success in his businesses, like his fashion line, Sean John. In 1998, Sean Combs launched a line of sportswear under his name called Sean John.
Stay right there. I'll be out in a second. That was close, y'all. Please do yourself a favor. Go to SeanJohn.com for your t-shirt cure. Or dial 877-55-BITCH-ASS immediately.
I have never heard of or seen this line before, but apparently Sean John has gone on to receive critical and commercial success, with revenues exceeding $525 million annually.
These days, his Sean John clothing line has sales of $500 million a year.
So I know there's a lot of brothers out there that they just don't get the opportunity to walk on the runways of Milan. They don't get the opportunities to like get their chance to really show what they got. And that's what Sean John is about. It's about giving opportunities. We got a lot of good looking brothers out there. So if you feel you have what it takes to be the new face of Sean John, go to SeanJohn.com. Fill out all the information and upload your picture. I done seen all these other faces out there. I'm looking for you.
What? How, if you've worn Sean John or have ever bought a Sean John clothing item, thoughts? Was it good? What am I missing here? Then in 2003, the National Labor Committee revealed that factories producing the Sean John clothing in Honduras were violating Honduran labor laws. A worker named Lida Eli Gonzalez came forward, claiming that Sean Combs used a sweatshop in Honduras to produce tens of thousands of items for his clothing line. Gonzalez also claimed that the managers yelled and cursed at the workers, forced them to work unpaid overtime, fired employees for being pregnant. In February of 2004, Charles Kernigan, the National Labor Committee, announced that improvements have been made at the factory, including adding air conditioning and water purification systems, which apparently weren't there before, which is just mind-blowing to think about. Working for hours on end, forced to work overtime, unpaid, with no AC and no water purification systems. Sean John is not Diddy's only company accused of treating its employees horribly. In 2010, Diddy was sued for age discrimination by one of his former employees at Bad Boy Records. 51-year-old music executive known as Mom or Auntie, Francesca Sparrow, sued Sean P. Diddy Combs for $12 million, claiming that she was fired for being old and disabled. She was allegedly fired from her position after years of helping build up the Bad Boy record label into what it became, all because she went through hip surgery and therefore couldn't run around like she used to. As a boss, a leader, Sean Combs let exploitation run rampant. It seems like really Sean was just too focused on hosting his parties to better run his companies. Sean Combs has become widely known for his lavish, star-studded parties.
Think of you of starting a party at like midnight.
Like what time will it go till?
That's a different type of party.
And Sean P. Combs' history of hosting parties dates all the way back to his time attending Howard University. Back in college, he gained a reputation for hosting parties, and Sean Combs continued hosting parties as his celebrity status increased, shifting from the general public being invited to more exclusive parties featuring high-profile celebrities and socialites. Sean P. Combs' parties became known for their extravagance and exclusive guest list, attracting A-list celebrities from different industries like music, film, fashion, and sports.
Welcome to Miami! Yes, the party has begun. If you're not on your way down here, get on your way down here. If you're on your way down here, I will be here waiting for you. I have a special party announcement. Okay? This Friday, I'll be having my second main event. This is for them underground motherfuckers that like it real, real dirty and like it hard. Pause. That was a crazy one. What am I doing?
It's wild how many famous and well-known people have been to a Diddy party, and how often it was publicly talked about out in the open.
Ain't no party like a Diddy party.
There's a now famous photo of Diddy alongside his then girlfriend Jennifer Lopez and Aaliyah on a very large white bed, an oddly large white bed. Why would you ever need a bed that large white bed? All dressed in mostly white, though I believe Diddy's wearing a red top. At one of Diddy's infamous white parties that he was hosting on July 2nd in the year 2000. It's pretty odd, the giant white bed that Diddy had in his backyard. This didn't age well. The random beds that Diddy had around his house, like in the home basketball gym.
Man, we do not care about that 3. What about the beds? You don't find that strange? You ain't never asked your dad about the beds? All black soundproof basketball court with 2 queen-size beds along each baseline. Yeah, lock this man up forever.
But at the time, it was branded as his party lifestyle and seemingly not thought of much more than that, other than those who knew what was up.
Ain't no party like a Diddy party.
Diddy's annual summer party events attracted a horde of A-list stars throughout the 2000s. Sean P. Combs told Oprah in an interview, "I had the craziest mix. Some of my boys from Harlem, Leonardo DiCaprio, socialites there, and relatives from down south."
You're legendary for the parties that you throw.
This is what you need to do. Women, beautiful women.
You have a lot of celebrities
Okay,
at your...
first you have to listen. I'm giving you the menu. You need locks on the doors.
Okay, this is sounding kind of dangerous now.
Right, check it out. You need a lot of heat. A lot of heat. Yeah.
Heat. You mean that physically the place has to be hot?
Everybody gets a little bit more comfortable and loose. Builds up a nice little sweat. You need some good music, and you need me, of course.
Yes, you spice up the party.
Sean Combs also said in a December 2017 Vogue interview that Leonardo DiCaprio is the #1 person on his invite list.
Who's the person that's #1 on that invitation list?
Leonardo DiCaprio.
And I can get on that list,
yes,
right?
Yes, without a doubt, you are invited.
That is so generous of you. Cheers to that.
There's been numerous other photos of other notable celebrities from the early 2000s who appeared at Sean Combs' white parties. Of course, there's Sean Combs with Jennifer Lopez in the giant white bed, Sarah Jessica Parker, Jay-Z, Mariah Carey, Paris Hilton and Kim Kardashian, Khloe Kardashian, Ashton Kutcher, who even co-hosted a white party. There's now a viral clip of him being interviewed on Hot Ones and being asked about the Diddy white parties and being noticeably uncomfortable.
Diddy party stories, man. That was like some weird memory lane. Wow, okay, I've got a lot I can't tell. So, I can't tell that one either. I mean, I'm like actually cycling through them.
There's many other celebrities who have been to a Diddy party, but I'm sure you get the picture.
You want to get Prince William and Prince Harry to a Diddy party?
I don't think, not anymore. I mean, before, you know.
Yeah. Don't ruin our royal wedding for us.
Trust me, they're off the list. As of now, they're off the list. But you know, before, when they were young bucks growing up and they were getting in a lot of trouble themselves, so hey, I was like, why don't you come hang out with me?
There's even a video from Diddy's 1998 birthday bash, which features Oprah, Donald Trump, Ellen DeGeneres, who is also called Diddy Cuddle McSnuggle Stuff. Apparently, we don't need to know why.
It'll go from like 9:30 to like maybe 3 o'clock, 3 o'clock. And then, you know, we have the top 2 floors of the hotel. You know?
And then it will carry on there.
Yeah. Then no, I mean the after party.
No, I know.
Chris Rock, Mariah Carey, Will Smith, Ben Stiller, Joan Rivers, Steven Tyler, and Tommy Hilfiger. A ton of other celebrities all saying you're invited to a P. Diddy party.
You were cordially invited to celebrate the birth of P. Diddy.
Sean P. Diddy, Puff, Pastry Combs.
Puff the Magic Dragon. Puff.
Puffy. I call Puffy Sean John. Got a lot of names, huh? Get some more names.
HR Puff and Stuff.
Sean P. Puff. Puffy please. Bad boy.
You call birthday boy and it's like, Puff Daddy Combs.
My man, Puffy.
Big boy.
The legendary Puff Daddy.
I think I might have to pass on that one. Thank you very much. Although the last official white party on record occurred in LA in 2009, Diddy has continued hosting other lavish parties and celebrations throughout the years.
Kids have like an hour left. So get extra comfortable, kids, because after that, y'all gotta go. It's a wrap for y'all, because this thing turns into something that when y'all get older, y'all don't want to come to. Okay? So, you know, let's just start to get our groove on a little bit. In an hour, we put the kids away. It's all good. All right, DJ, that's it.
Sean Combs would often host his parties at upscale venues, like exclusive nightclubs, luxury hotels, private estates, or even his own homes. There was supposedly food prepared by top chefs and premium drinks and cocktails. And attendees at Diddy parties were supposedly treated like royalty with VIP amenities and services.
For the next 53 seconds, we'll take an in-depth look inside Diddy parties.
Diddy once threw a party on a jet flying around the world. Now, it started on a Tuesday and somehow ended on the previous Sunday. I don't know how he did that.
Now that I'm engaged, I've decided to slow down a little. 3 Diddy parties a week. Maybe 4. Well, not including the weekends.
It's hard to say which is more off the hook. A Diddy party or a Diddy after party. Or a Diddy after party, which is basically a pre-party for the next Diddy party.
So a bunch of rich and very privileged people who want to feel like kings and queens lording over peasants for a night, I guess, and then doing other. According to The Atlantic, Sean Combs hosted his first official white party in the Hamptons. The house was all white, and so was the dress code. After the first white party, Sean Diddy Combs told Oprah Winfrey, "I wanted to strip away everyone's image and put us all in the same color and on the same level." It does seem like the white parties was made to be also a statement. A top executive for a Black-owned music label that represents predominantly Black artists coming into the Hamptons, which is one of the richest communities in America, but is also predominantly white, is a statement in itself. Throwing a white party where everyone dresses in white, but it's a very rich, successful, and powerful Black man throwing the experience. I understand the statement behind that. Unfortunately, these parties came with a lot of terror, assault, and horrific connotations that will always be intertwined. So whatever statement was attempted to be made is virtually null and void. A video of Sean Combs from 1999 came to light, in which he appears to predict that he would one day be arrested for his elaborate parties.
Your parties are the hottest ticket around.
They won't even give me a permit for the parties, man. They don't want me to throw the parties no more. But we ain't gonna stop. We're gonna keep on having fun, bringing people together from all walks of life. You're gonna hear about my party. They're gonna be shutting them down. They're gonna probably be arresting me, doing all types of crazy things just because we wanna have a good time. There's a lot of people out there that feel intimidated by it. It ain't nothing but breaking down racial barriers, breaking down generation barriers. People from all walks of life. Ron Perlman talking to Jay-Z.
Jay-Z talking to, you know what I'm saying? It just goes on and on, you know, it's just like people from all walks of life connecting and getting together.
More and more disturbing information has come out regarding what happens during Diddy's parties and after his parties, whether it's group sex, sexual assault, or a casting couch dynamic where newcomers in the industry have to gratify executives and other notable figures in order to secure their future.
I like when you like this, Daddy.
Yeah, where you put my bag?
Daddy, I like when you
right
scrambling
here,
and scraping for shit.
No, I got
I
notes
like
and
that.
shit.
Did you miss me though,
I
man?
miss
But I'm
partying
talking about
with
for your birthday.
Huh?
Why won't you party with me for your birthday, man?
We partied for my birthday before. You came to my party.
No, but me and you ain't never really party, you know what I'm saying?
I was coming off of being in Miami a night of party, and I don't really remember what I was saying.
I'm sure we can put
Rapper 50 Cent has also talked about Sean Diddy Combs' behavior towards other people in the industry, particularly other men in the music industry.
He doesn't even know what he's saying is like fruity. You know what I'm saying? Like, he said something fabulous and he goes, but me and you, we ain't party. Like, we need to party. What is he talking about? What is he talking about? That's the kind of stuff that when people say that to me, I get a little uncomfortable. I get uncomfortable. Like he said something to me one time, a long time ago, at Chris Lighty's wedding. He told me he'd take me shopping. I looked at him like, what'd you just say?
Though 50 Cent does it in a comedic way, my personal takeaway is that 50 Cent has sensed some aggression from Sean Combs, even if he initially does it in a nice way, which that's something I think is hard for a lot of people to understand sometimes. You can be a nice, aggressive person. So by incessantly asking someone, why haven't we partied together? Why haven't we partied? Let's party. Why aren't you partying with me? And putting them in an uncomfortable position where they feel pressured to do something that they may not want to do with you. That's how abusive people can gently nudge someone into a situation that they cannot turn away from. And people sometimes feel awkward with it because they don't want to flat out say no to someone that's being nice, even if they're being nice in an aggressive way. Personally, in the past, that's been my problem. I think people like 50 Cent, while they may not have been privy to all of Sean P. Diddy Combs' actions in the music industry, have picked up on little signs like this and felt uncomfortable with it. Felt like maybe something's off. Why are you aggressively asking someone to party with you? What's the reason behind that? What's going on there? That tactic is how users can work and operate. Abusers are focused on domination and control. When they go after somebody, it's not necessarily because of their sexuality, the victims, but it's because of domination, control, the act of the abuse. Following Diddy's appearance on Drink Champs, 50 Cent posted a picture onto Instagram in a hospital bed surrounded by stuffed animals with a text overlay that read, "Currently recovering from pettiness." This pettiness would come in 50 Cent's caption, which read, "Sorry, I can no longer help you guys. Soon you will all be gay and happy. You are all now left under leadership of Puff Daddy. Report to the nearest rainbow." While a lot of people have praised 50 Cent for consistently speaking out against P. Diddy, Sean Combs, my personal interpretation is that hyper-focusing on Sean Diddy Combs' sexuality, whether or not he's gay, whether or not there are any gay men in the hip-hop industry, which statistically, guess what? There probably are, who don't need to come out until they're ready. That being said, that's completely besides the point. By focusing on Sean Combs' sexuality or the sexuality of those involved in this story, it is completely distracting from the point, in my opinion. The point being the widespread abuse that has occurred within the music industry at the hands of Sean Diddy Combs and his empire. So while I think it's great that 50 Cent has spoken out, in comparison to the majority of celebrities who have remained completely silent on this, I also wish that he would focus more on that aspect and not so much on Diddy and others' sexuality. 50 Cent has also criticized the strange nature of Diddy's parties, expressed feeling uncomfortable with them, him, saying, look, if you're into that, you're into that. I'm fine with it. To each his own. I'm just saying, this ain't my mother effing kind of party. It's uncomfortable. 50 Cent also posted a photo of Lil Baby being embraced by Michael Rubin and a random man at a Diddy party. See, this is why I don't go to no party Puffy and them at, 50 Cent wrote.
No, he did it. And I'm the only one who's been vocal about this long before it actually. A lot of the celebrity culture that you don't hear saying anything is because they participated.
The March 8th episode of the Not Skinny But Not Fat podcast, influencer Josh Ostrovsky claimed that he walked in on Diddy allegedly spooning with DJ and record producer Felix the House Cat.
And this right here is the godfather of electro funk. My brother, Felix the House Cat. We've been friends for a long time.
That being said, before I play a clip or quote from what Josh has said on this podcast, I want to say there's been so many allegations of SA that we don't fully even know what Josh may have allegedly walked into at this house party. So I want to put that out there.
But one thing that was happening recently was that with the whole cancellation of Diddy, this was something I've been talking about for years because it's like now a documented thing that I saw him like at a party in Miami. But I came in and I basically saw him. I walked in a room I shouldn't have walked into and I saw him like hooking up with a dude. Basically, like full spooning situation. This guy, Felix the House Cat, who's like a producer.
In 2015, Josh went on a podcast and told the same story. Diddy's team contacted him to get him to take down the claims.
I then told the story on a podcast, and then his people called me and were like, you need to say you were joking. Like, say you're a funny guy, and like you made it up for the views. And I was like, but I did not.
Josh also shared that he went on the Hot 97 morning show for a pre-recorded interview. The interviewer, Ebro Darden, refused to air it because of the Diddy allegations.
And then I talked about it on Hot 97 and they wouldn't air it. And I told the story. And then afterwards he was like, I'm not going to run this interview.
Kirk Burroughs, former president of Bad Boy Entertainment, that is until 1996, claimed years later in 2003 that Sean Combs had threatened him with a baseball bat to get him to sign over a 25% stake in the company. And Kirk Burroughs claims that he was wrongly fired as president of the company.
What went wrong between you and Puffy? Because if I'm not mistaken, he made you give up your ownership in Bad Boy, right? And they had you in the room and they had bats and they made you give over your percentage?
We were renegotiating Bad Boy. We were about to get a step up in the money. I had 25% of the company. I didn't want to give it up. So he came into my office one day unexpected, him and Kenny Marsalis. They had it planned out. Kenny had the briefcase with all the stock certificates in it. And Diddy had the bat.
The lawsuit was tossed out by an appeals court. Sean Combs' lawyer said in a statement about the lawsuit, "This is a perfect example of how vulnerable celebrities are just so vulnerable. They're the most vulnerable population group there is. This is a perfect example of how vulnerable celebrities are to the filing of lawsuits that don't have any merit." Isn't that quite an ironic statement? With all the new information that's come out about Sean Diddy Combs, many people have looked back through Sean Combs' relationships. One of the most long-term relationships that Sean Combs has ever had, resulting in the children that he has, is his relationship with Kim Porter, the model and actress who had a long-term relationship with Diddy. Kim already had a child with singer, songwriter, and producer Al B, Quincy Brown. Al B was also raised in Mount Vernon, New York, just like Sean Combs. He went to the same high school that Sean Combs did. At some point, the couple separated and Kim Porter went on to date Sean Combs. Then in 1998, the couple welcomed their first son together, Christian Casey Combs. But Kim Porter and Sean Combs would end up separating in 1999 and battling in court over child support. And it's been rumored that Diddy left Kim to start a high-profile relationship with Jennifer Lopez, who Sean Combs dated for 2 years before getting back together with Kim Porter in 2003. Then fast forward to 2006, Kim and Sean had twin daughters together, Delilah Starr and Jesse James Combs.
God is the greatest. He blessed me and my girlfriend Kim in the world with two beautiful baby girls.
However, during that time, Sean Diddy Combs was having an affair with his associate, Sarah Chapman, who got pregnant and gave birth to a daughter named Chance Combs in that same year. And in 2007, Kim and Diddy ended up separating for good.
Kim Porter was pregnant with Diddy's twin daughters. And then Diddy had a daughter with Sarah Chapman.
Yes.
Who was actually Tupac's ex.
Right. Yeah, Kim was upset because Sarah Chapman was also one of her best friends.
Oh, I didn't know that.
In May of 2024, the Rolling Stone published an article on Diddy that included a 6-month investigation. The article discussed an incident that occurred in the year 2000 where Kim Porter's relationship with late music executive Shakir Stewart enraged Combs. When the industry gathered for L.A. Reid's wedding that summer in Italy, Sean Combs went to Stewart's hotel room after the ceremony and allegedly broke a chair over his head. Stewart's mother and 2 of his close friends told the Rolling Stone. The former president of Bad Boy, Kirk Burroughs, believes that Sean Combs' losses at a young age, specifically the death of his father, took a toll on his relationships. He is fortified now with the money and the power, but abandonment and the act of leaving can bring about vicious results. And the women catch it the worst. Kim Porter doesn't seem to be an exception to that. Kim's relationship to Sean Combs was tumultuous, according to sources, who also claimed that Sean physically abused her.
You knew Kim Porter. Is it true that Diddy broke her nose?
Bust her nose, man.
Kim Porter even told Essence magazine that after their breakup, Sean Combs refused to let her move on, and that he still called her 50 to 60 times a day. It was like my life was not my own. He was very, very intrusive.
Insecurities. Anytime a man would go out his way to wiretap someone's phone or put taps in their homes just to monitor their conversation, that's a sign of insanity.
Tragically, Kim Porter passed away on November 15th of 2018, the age of 47. She was found unresponsive in her home in Toluca Lake, California, after experiencing flu-like symptoms for days. Emergency responders were called. However, Kim Porter was pronounced dead at the scene. It would later be noted that she died from pneumonia. Despite knowing how Kim Porter died, many people were suspicious about the circumstances surrounding Kim's sudden passing, because she seemed so healthy before her diagnosis. People were not convinced that someone so high profile with so many resources could die from something like pneumonia.
Not me directly, but it's my ex-wife actually she was a model in New York, and she was really good friends with Kim Porter, who was Diddy's wife. The one who died at 47 from pneumonia, and I was like, and she called me like, something's up with that. I go, what do you mean? She's like, oh, dude, Kim used to tell me she was really afraid of him, and it. Really? Yeah. This goes back years. Maybe it's natural, but not a lot of people die at 47 of pneumonia.
One of the people that was not convinced of this was Kim Porter's ex, Al B, who made a since deleted post on Instagram saying, "The morning of the Soul Train Awards, I just found this footage from the morning I learned of Lady KP, aka Kim Porter's and how it ripped the soul from my physical body. I had no clue. I do know very clearly that Kimberly didn't just check out all of a sudden over pneumonia. That's some B. Really? This is where I get in trouble. Kim Porter's children have publicly claimed that these speculations about her death are incredibly offensive. Sean Combs' kids put out a statement about their late mother, Kim Porter. We have seen so many hurtful and false rumors circulating about our parents, Kim Porter and Sean Combs' relationship. I mean, that sounds like a PR formulated response, though, to me personally, allegedly. While it has been incredibly difficult to reconcile how she could be taken from us too soon, the cause of her death has long been established. There was no foul play. Because of her long history and connection to Diddy, Kim Porter's legacy will always be connected to Diddy. But ultimately, I do think it's important to iterate that nobody knows Kim Porter's story, though we can probably assume that she went through a lot in her lifetime. It is wrong to speculate too largely on someone who has passed. One thing that many people have speculated on is that around the time of Kim Porter's death, she was writing a tell-all book. But much surrounding this book has been recently debunked. The so-called memoir, a 59-page self self-published book published on September 6th under a pseudonym by a self-described investigative journalist that Kim Porter's children labeled as 100% false. The children said in their joint Instagram statement, "Claims that our mom wrote a book are simply untrue. She did not, and anyone claiming to have a manuscript is misrepresenting themselves." Albie has been very vocal recently. In fact, 2 years after Albie made the Instagram post about the circumstances surrounding Kim Porter's death, he suffered from multiple illnesses and even ended up going into a coma. He miraculously survived and started his journey to recovery in 2023. Since then, Albie has announced a documentary where he plans on exposing Sean Combs.
Me talking about situations for over more than a decade and a half, and then all of a sudden everybody woke up like, whoa, yo, we thought you were crazy.
Albie has also posted a message to his son Quincy saying, "A letter to my son. Come home. The door is wide open. You're safe here, son. I love you. Pops, you're biological." This post has insinuated that Albie and Quincy's relationship has been estranged for some time, possibly due to Diddy's involvement. Albie has also promoted his documentary at the Equal Justice Now Awards and has made the very bold claim that Sean Combs had something to do with Albie going into a coma.
We're going to be producing the Albie Shore life story. So hold on to your britches, and you'll really understand how I ended up in a coma. You're really going to need to call Homeland Security.
A lot of this is just speculation, especially since the children have seemed to deny much of what Albie has claimed. And it's currently unknown whether or not Albie has gone to the police with these allegations. But Albie has also made an Instagram post thanking law enforcement and claiming further in the post, "Kimberly was allegedly taken from us because she was set on a course to accomplish what Mrs. Cassie Ventura did by igniting the bonfire, which brings us here today with the avalanche that has brought Satan to their chambers." While much of what Albie claims is alleged, Sean Diddy Combs has been seemingly pretty legitimately tied to a lot of criminal activity. In August of 2007, a man named Gerard Rechnitzer sued Sean Combs, claiming that Diddy punched him in the face outside a Hollywood club the week prior. The lawsuit detailed how Gerard approached Sean Combs while he was talking to Gerard's girlfriend. Sean Combs yelled at him, "I'll smack flames out your ass." What does that even mean? Sean Combs' attorney claimed that Gerard was just trying to take advantage of Mr. Combs' celebrity status because, again, the poor celebrity is being victimized by everyone around. On March of 2008, Diddy's lawyers filed a document stating that the case had been settled, but the terms were not disclosed. Then, in August of 2013, Sean Combs attended an MTV VMAs after party where he approached rapper Kendrick Lamar, who had just featured on Big Sean's single Control. Lamar's verse had sent shockwaves through the rap community.
I think that Kendrick has like the utmost potential, man. Like, you know, I see Kendrick tomorrow, I'm gonna dap him. I didn't feel the way about that verse. I get it. I get the moment. Like, you know, he's a good guy.
For example, in one of the lyrics, despite being from Compton, California, Kendrick Lamar proclaimed himself the king of New York.
I was presented a song with Big Sean, Kendrick Lamar, Jay Electronica. Within that song, referred to himself as
the king
of New York.
I feel like, that king of New York, crazy, you know what I mean?
Statement that apparently rubbed Diddy the wrong way. So, an intoxicated Sean Combs aggressively approached Kendrick Lamar and reportedly tried to pour a drink on top of Kendrick Lamar's head before rapper J. Cole intervened, which started a scuffle between J. Cole and Diddy's crew. J. Cole publicly addressed the situation for the first time in his single Let Go My Hand. Definitely interesting to see how comfortable Diddy is in confronting other high-profile individuals and behaving in such a manner in front of others. He's confronted and assaulted other executives. He's behaved in belligerent and aggressive ways in public. It makes one wonder if that's how Sean Diddy Combs is acting and treating other high-profile individuals, other people with power. How is he treating people with no power? People who aren't high-profile, people who can't do anything for him. In 2015, Diddy embarrassed his son, Justin Combs, when he showed up to his university and got in a fight with his football coach. Justin played football during his time at Iona Prep, an independent, Catholic, all-male prep school located in New Rochelle, New York. Justin eventually attended UCLA, where he played on their NCAA Division I football team. In 2015, Diddy attended one of Justin's football practices and witnessed the coach ripping into Justin. The coach's name is Sal Alassi. Isn't that what football coaches are supposed to do? They're supposed to give you constructive feedback? But Diddy was very unhappy with the treatment the coach was giving to his son, so he decided to visit him in his office. We all know how this story goes at this point. It's unclear exactly what happened, but words were exchanged and a scuffle ensued. Things escalated pretty quickly when Diddy decided to pick up a weighted kettlebell. Those things are no joke. I'd say even worse than a baseball bat. Based on reports, Diddy threw the kettlebell and he was subsequently arrested, faced 3 counts of assault with a deadly weapon, 1 count of making terrorist threats, and 1 count of battery. Although Diddy left police custody on bond and escaped felony charges, UCLA banned Diddy from attending future practices. So right now, I'm not allowed, Sean Combs said during an interview appearance on the radio show Power 105.
So, are you allowed to go to practices and stuff, or are you just going to
No,
stay away?
no, I'm not.
Stay away?
As I know right now, I'm not allowed. You know, it was at the end of the day, it's just about communication to me. So I went there to communicate. Now, I can't speak about anything else that happened.
Right.
Was there a kettlebell involved? I went there to communicate.
Yeah, I'm sure that's exactly what Justin felt like you were doing, communicating and being by his side, especially since after that incident, you weren't allowed to go to any of his practices. Yeah, that really helped his situation. Also, I see that 1 day of anger management is really coming into play here, really helped things for him. In May of 2017, Cindy Ruella, who worked as Sean Combs' personal chef, filed a lawsuit against him with claims including sexual harassment, retaliation, and failure to pay overtime. Cindy alleged that Diddy would request that she serve food to him and his friends immediately following sexual activity. The men would still be naked, according to the lawsuit, with Diddy once asking her if she liked his body. Oh my gosh, think of how uncomfortable that is. Gross and icky. Actually, don't think about it. Sean Combs settled the lawsuit with Cindy for an undisclosed amount in February 2019. But very soon in the near future for Sean Combs, the floodgates would open and more lawsuits would come. Cassandra Elizabeth Ventura was born in New London, Connecticut. At age 14, Cassie began modeling, and by 16, she was modeling for local department stores and 17 magazine. She even briefly appeared in singer Mario's Just a Friend 2002 music video. A producer named Rock Wilder encouraged Cassie to pursue different outlets. So Cassie took vocal lessons, learned ballet, and took advantage of her school's performing arts program.
Well, you went to the Performing Arts High School? Ballet?
I did modern ballet and jazz, yeah. It was a great, I think it was an important thing for me, a great thing. And I got into the musical theater program, so I started performing and singing on stage, which was a hard thing for me to overcome. And was taking vocal lessons, meeting with producers.
When Cassie finished high school in 2004, she moved to New York City, where she went back to modeling and took dance classes at the Broadway Dance Center.
Well, you also did some modeling. What was it like?
Well, I really was fascinated by the fashion industry at a really young age. I started modeling when I was 12. I didn't get signed until I was 14, but I actually started working when I was 12 years old, so now I'm 20 and almost half my life I've spent in the entertainment industry.
She booked mainly commercial modeling gigs and was represented by Wilhelmina. Then in 2004, a songwriter and record producer named Ryan Leslie started to encounter Cassie at clubs and parties. Soon the two worked together and wrote a duet called Kiss Me. At the time, Cassie was unable to secure a record deal, so Leslie signed her to his music media company called Next Selection Lifestyle Group. Leslie then wrote and produced Cassie's first single, Me and You, in 2005. The pair created a MySpace page and uploaded the song, which soon went viral, became an underground club hit. You watching now have probably heard this song before. Even if you don't immediately recognize it, you'll probably know it upon listening. And after the song went viral, Cassie ended up in a bidding war between different labels.
We discovered that MySpace was going to be a better discovery channel than the radio. We figured out a way to game the MySpace music charts. And the way we learned how to do it was we actually controlled the MySpace keyword. We watched her song go from 20 plays a day to 200 plays a day to 20,000 plays a day. And we watched every single record company ring me up and say, hey, you guys have cracked the code. We'd love to sign you.
During this time, Sean Diddy Combs heard Me and You at a club and made it his mission to sign Cassie to his label.
Who signed her? Puff Daddy.
Signing Cassie to Bad Boy Records.
Bitch. Oh, who's this?
No.
Who's this? Who's this? Who's this? Say what's up to the people.
Hi, people.
That's Cass right there. She's in the vocal booth doing what she gotta do.
When Diddy and Cassie first met, Cassie was only 19 years old and Diddy was 36.
That right there, that was just a taste. You know what I'm saying? This right here is an official, one of those bad boy classic joints. What you got to say?
I just want to say thank you to everybody, and I hope everybody likes the record. It's definitely an honor to be on what Puff is calling a Bad Boy Classic. So thank you so much, everybody, for your support and for being patient with me, because I know I've been in the studio for a while now.
Yeah. Let's go.
Cassie Ventura's debut self-titled album was released in August of 2006 and debuted at number 4 on the Billboard 200. During all this time of Cassie developing her new and budding career, Diddy and Cassie formed a relationship.
Diddy has like 3 kids in the same year from 2 different women. And right around that time, according to Cassie and her lawsuit, that's when Diddy started to really press up on Cassie.
And it was when she was there for 2 weeks with Ryan Leslie that Diddy started looking at her like, oh, wow. So when he came, he said, okay, next time, have Cassie come by herself. So when I seen Cassie 2 weeks later by herself, I said, oh God, why did he allow this to happen? Like, I would never allow my girl to come out the Diddy house by herself.
Cassie even became the face of Diddy's fashion label, Sean John, which also feels like Diddy using someone who was new and popular and hot, both literally and figuratively, for his own personal gain to further his business successes and the success of his fashion line. In 2007, Sean Combs, who is now 38 and now officially separated from Kim Porter, began dating Cassie, who is 21 years old at the time.
What a beautiful dress.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, Miss Cassie, we got Diddy, guys. The party is starting because y'all arrived, right?
Whenever everybody just looks great. I think it's a collection.
Yeah. Head to toe, describe to me what's the inspiration behind your outfit tonight. Was it an all-white party? Final question, is there anything that you may want to confess tonight before you go in?
I keep everything right here. There you go. Or right here.
There you go. That's how you do it, right?
December of 2015, the couple had a brief breakup, which model Gina Kuhn ended up admitting that Diddy was cheating on Cassie with her at the time.
And you knew about Cassie?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, did Cassie know about you? Is the question.
She did. She knew about me like 4 months into the relationship.
Okay. And how did you find out about that, Cassie knowing about you?
Because she reached out to me. She was never like nasty to me. She didn't call me names or nothing. She was always nice. I don't know if it was fake or not, but she was always nice.
Unfortunately, Gina endured domestic violence during her relationship with Sean Combs. 2019 interview with controversial blogger Tasha K. Gina recalled a disturbing encounter where Sean Combs her in the head. He was mentally, emotionally, and physically abusing me. He would always compare me to Cassie and tell me that I'm the bad one. She's the good one. Gina also claimed that everyone in his circle allowed him to abuse her multiple times. Everyone in Diddy's circle is just as culpable, I swear. In a later portion of the interview, Gina claimed that she got pregnant with Diddy's child. He responded by paying her $50,000 to get an abortion, though she says she refused the payment.
When was the first time you became pregnant with Diddy's child?
The first time was October 2014. He offered me $50,000 to get rid of it, but I turned it down because I just loved him, and I was like trying to prove that I wasn't the girl that wanted him for money. I just wanted him to be nice to me.
Cassie and Diddy's relationship was also horrific. In August of 2016, TMZ reported that the couple got into an argument while driving through LA. Diddy allegedly took Cassie's phone and left the vehicle. At this point, this was the first time the public had heard of any domestic disputes between the two. According to the report, Sean Combs eventually returned home to give Cassie her phone back. Cassie's mother called the authorities, who wrote a domestic incident report. The couple ended their relationship for good at some point in 2018. Sean Combs was spotted with model Jocelyn Chu, who looks very similar to Cassie, if I might add, in September of that year. Cassie ended her association with Bad Boy Records in 2019. Despite pursuing music when she first met Diddy, Cassie never released a second studio album, which makes one wonder if Cassie's relationship with Diddy killed her passion for music. Cassie instead decided to focus on building a family with her husband and welcomed two daughters in 2019 and 2021. Cassie would seemingly disappear from the public eye for the next few years until Cassie finally decided it was time to start a lawsuit against Sean Combs for the horrible ways in which he treated her throughout her relationship. Although Sean Diddy Combs' entire career was flooded with allegations of sexual misconduct, aggression, violence, this was the first time that someone connected to Diddy romantically for several years with a public platform came forward. I'm sure it took a lot of bravery and a lot of courage, but in Cassie doing so, it was able to ignite a massive fire that was able to shed light on the darkness of the Diddy empire and finally take it all down. Cassie Ventura sued Diddy under the New York Adult Survivors Act, which gave victims a one-time, one-year window to sue their abusers and institutions, even if the statute of limitations had run out. The lawsuit Cassie filed against Combs read, Cassie, Mrs. Cassandra Ventura, was held down by Mr. Combs and endured over a decade of his violent behavior and disturbed demands. For Mrs. Ventura, the dark times were those she spent trapped by Mr. Combs in a cycle of abuse, violence, and sex trafficking. Once Diddy and Cassie began a romantic relationship, Diddy and his inner circle allegedly controlled every aspect of her life. And according to the lawsuit, those closest to Sean Combs turned a blind eye to physical abuse. Beatings were witnessed by Mr. Combs' staff and employees, but no one dared to speak up against their frightening and ferocious boss. And Cassie said that she never went to the police for fear that it would give Diddy an excuse to hurt her. One instance of abuse in 2009, Sean Combs allegedly kicked Cassie in the face and had his staff hide her in a hotel room. On top of that, because of Sean Diddy Combs' immense power and control, it was nearly impossible for Cassie to be able to run and hide from him. Every time she hid, Mr. Combs' vast network of corporations and affiliated entities found her, and those who worked for Mr. Combs' companies implored her to return to him. Imagine feeling like you can never escape someone, that no matter where you run, where you hide, someone will find you and bring you back to him. Cassie's failure to return to Mr. Combs would hinder her success in the entertainment industry. According to the lawsuit, if you don't return to your abuser, your entire career is over. But if you do, your abuser will probably destroy you. And according to the lawsuit, Cassie even suffered from memory loss because Sean Combs would ply her with so many drugs, copious amounts of drugs, The court papers even cite an instance in which Cassie's MRI results went directly to Diddy. The most disturbing part of the lawsuit is when Cassie Ventura talks about how Sean Diddy Combs forced her to take part in what was called freak-offs. The word freak-offs have been heavily associated with Diddy now, but what are they? Well, Cassie Ventura described the freak-offs in her lawsuit as sexual encounters of sorts and arrangements in which she had no choice but to engage in sex acts with different male sex workers in different cities. Encounters that she claims that Sean Combs gained pleasure from watching and even recording.
Now, I had a friend who told me years ago, like 3 years ago, he said, man, I've seen the craziest shit in this game, bro. He goes, one time I was chilling and I got a call that Puff wanted me to come over. This is all allegedly. He says 3 years ago, wanted me to come over, pull up. I pulled up and he wanted me to like play with Cassie's pussy. And in my mind, you know what I said? You're a clout chasing, lying, manipulative. Oh my God, I can't trust. At the time when he said it, I really thought he was just crazy being a clout chaser.
These encounters continued for years in high-end hotels, sometimes would occur as often as once a week.
But I have seen people that I haven't ever seen in my life, guys that I've never seen before, go into a hotel room with them, and I know that only they was in the room, nobody else was in the room. But what actually went on, or if they was forced to do it, or how much they got paid, I didn't know about that. But I definitely did see people go into private places where him and Cassie was at.
Cassie would try to delete all content filmed of these freak-off encounters, but her attempts to delete this footage was often unsuccessful. Once she was even forced to watch footage from a freak-off on a flight that she had thought she'd deleted previously. When Cassie was on a relationship break with Sean Combs, she started a short-lived relationship with the rapper Kid Cudi in the spring of 2011. When Cassie was returning home from a trip, Diddy, who had discovered her relationship with Kid Cudi, attacked her. Cassie ran to Kid Cudi's house to escape Diddy's violent behavior. One of Diddy's employees told Cassie that Kid Cudi needed to just talk to Diddy. Cassie, probably knowing Diddy's tendencies and fearing for Kid Cudi's life, ended up returning to Sean Combs, who ended up beating her. Then the following year, in February of 2012, Diddy allegedly told Cassie that he was going to blow up Kid Cudi's car and that he wanted to ensure Kid Cudi was home with his friends when it happened. And around that same time, Kid Cudi's car exploded in his driveway. I mean, we already knew that Diddy was capable of a lot, but blowing up a car, possibly blowing up a person, that's a lot. In Cassie's lawsuit, she also talked about how multiple witnesses saw the abuse that Cassie endured at the hands of Diddy and even wrote in letters to support her case.
Did you know about the physical abuse? Did you ever hear stories or beating her?
I did not know. But I witnessed it. All I witnessed was him walking into the room and saying, where the is she? Next thing you know, all I hear from the bedroom was, just, I don't want to go back and think about. All I can think of was to get her out of there.
What happened when she appeared, when you saw her?
She was bruised. Badly bruised.
Which is just mind-blowing to me. All of those years of horrific treatment. Years later, when she finally comes out with a lawsuit, people write in letters to support her. Where was that before? I know it's scary going against a powerful person like Diddy, who has a ton of money, resources, connections, and it feels like they can destroy your entire life if you speak out against them. But still, no one spoke out before she came out with a lawsuit. Even during the Me Too movement, if you work for someone and then you see that person beating their girlfriend and you just stay silent about that and continue to work for that person. What? I know everyone has bills to pay and all of that, but at the same time, you're just as culpable. Clearly, there's enough substantiated claims behind Cassie's lawsuit because Diddy's legal team settled Cassie's lawsuit within 1 day. After Cassie's lawsuit ended up making headlines, then a lot of former people who were part of Diddy's team came out of the woodworks and spoke about the situation, including Sean Combs' former head of security, Roger Bonds.
You are in the lawsuit as saying, in the car leaving the club, you know that Mr. Combs physically abused his girlfriend.
Though Roger Bonds did claim that he protected Cassie, clearly not enough, but okay, and jumped between her and Combs in one instance that he names in an interview.
That particular time that Cassie is talking about, they were at a dinner or a gathering on Sunset Boulevard, and Cassie was talking to a manager, and he got very upset about that. You know, he didn't want her talking to any other managers or doing anything without his say-so. And he got very abusive that day, and I jumped out the car, and I ran up on him, and I grabbed him, and I was like, what are you doing? Do you see where we at? Like, what's going on?
After Cassie's lawsuit resurfaced, people also started to find pretty strange and incriminating interviews that further showed some kind of abusive behavior from Diddy, in my opinion, and many others, I have to say, for legal reasons. In a June 2022 interview with Vlad TV, rapper Young Jock revealed how Diddy allegedly forced Cassie to shave her head.
Jumped off the bar, came on and said, yo, Cassie, tomorrow, I want you to shave the side of your head. And I was like, what the fuck kind of request is that?
In 2009, Cassie Ventura shaved half of her head, rocking a sort of punk-inspired hairstyle.
So I was looking at Cassie, I was like, you're not about to do that, are you? She said, well, I mean, whatever Sean wants, I'm gonna do.
Songwriter Tiffany Red published an open letter to Diddy in the Rolling Stone that corroborated Cassie's claims.
They look like Hollywood royalty there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Show business. Show.
Tiffany says she saw a much darker side to Combs. She was there the night of Cassie's 29th birthday party in 2015.
I walk out the room, and right behind the door, there's his security is around him. They have her in the corner, and he's in her face, and he's cutting her out. And she just had her head down, and when I was like standing over to the side, she just was kind of like looking up at me. My sense was that everybody around him was afraid of him.
In this open letter, Tiffany Red wrote, "The power imbalance makes it nearly impossible to fight back and terrifying to speak up. There are moments in life when some of us have to face the hard choice of speaking truth to power or not. This is one of those moments." Though I've mentioned that throughout the years, there were many people who kept Diddy's secrets hidden behind closed doors, not everyone involved in the music industry has been complacent with the actions of Diddy. There have been many victims of Diddy who have spoken out throughout the years. The problem is, no one believed them. Kimora Lee Simmons participated in a 2004 profile. In this profile, Kimora admitted that Diddy threatened to hit her while she was pregnant. In the interview with New York Magazine, the magazine wrote about Kimora's statements. Kimora said something to Combs and he threatened to hit her. "And I was pregnant, the moron," said Kimora. Combs apparently eventually got down on his knees in public to apologize. After all the recent news surrounding Diddy, the allegations, the lawsuits, the arrests, since Kimora Lee Simmons was close friends with Kim Porter, she's made statements saying that she's going to fiercely protect Diddy's daughters.
You worry? You want them to be okay? You want them to be safe?
Another person who had talked publicly about how horrible Diddy was years before all of this publicly came to light was the former Danity Kane member of Bad Boy Records and reality show participant of Making the Band, Aubrey O'Day.
Aubrey O'Day, welcome to Call Her Daddy.
Thank you for having me.
The first member of the band is Aubrey.
Watching it as a viewer, I always was like, oh, Diddy is like so obsessed with Aubrey.
I just want you to look good.
If you're not happy, you hate me, then why you have me here?
I don't have to have you here. That's one thing that we can make clear. That's one thing we can make clear.
Aubrey O'Day went onto the Call Her Daddy podcast and spoke briefly about her time working alongside Diddy.
Why did the band break up?
I wasn't willing to do what was expected of me. Not talent-wise, but in other areas. At the very end, he fired me.
Even when you go into the comments section of this Call Her Daddy interview, it is wild how many people blame Aubrey O'Day. It's obvious that victim blaming is still a massive problem in our society today. Singer Jaguar Wright has been another person who has stood her ground for years, accusing Sean Combs of committing serious crimes, long before all of this information came out. In one interview, Jaguar Wright says that she was called a liar for coming out with this information and was accused of being jealous of Sean Combs' success.
You said I was a liar because I was jealous, because I wasn't his girlfriend, because I wasn't successful in the music industry, because I didn't have a hit record, because I didn't live in a mansion, because I didn't have diamonds. You said all of these things about me. Because I told the truth.
Imagine accusing someone of committing crimes and then people just hitting you back with the deflective comments of you're just jealous because that person is successful. No, that makes it even more dangerous that they're committing crimes. That's exactly why I'm trying to speak out here. But because of that backlash that people have received for trying to speak out, it makes a lot of sense why so many people were afraid to speak out against Sean Combs until the public became more receptive to it. The mental gymnastics that people have been doing for years to uphold powerful people, but extremely dangerous powerful people, when there have been people trying to warn the public and then they face backlash. Because of that, it makes me feel like it's not just people in Diddy's close circle that need to take some accountability, but maybe it's the general public too. Maybe the story of Diddy is as much a societal issue as it has been an industry issue, with people enabling and refusing to believe victims until it's convenient for them to do so. This phenomenon, this terrible and horrifying phenomenon, is known as the halo effect. The halo effect is a cognitive bias where someone in very high standing tends to remain in good faith with the public, even when allegations come out about them. Just like in the case of someone like Diddy, the public tends to discount our information that's incongruent with our perception of him, especially when someone with less status than him comes forward. I know, it's infuriating. And this means that it sometimes takes irrefutable evidence for people to change their perception about a celebrity. Also, it's important to note that some of the women who came forward alleging Sean Combs to them are Black women, which societally may have played a part in the doubt that they faced. This is a societal issue, but also a structural issue that dates all the way back to the 19th century, when the minimization of Black women's experiences of sexual violence was actually written into law. In some southern states, only white women would be recognized as victims of. While that's no longer the case today, think about the structural and societal impact that something like that can have. It has undoubtedly infiltrated our culture in subliminal, unconscious, and maybe even conscious ways that needs to be talked about. In a recent study conducted by Chloe Grace Hart, an assistant professor of sociology at University Wisconsin-Madison, Chloe found that Americans were less likely to believe a Black woman describing an experience of sexual harassment than they were to believe a white woman describing the same experience. While it's incredible that so many Black women and people alike are now able to come forward and share their stories about Diddy and be believed, I can't help but feel personally that it took an endless amount of evidence and decades for these voices to finally be believed. For the people that are shocked at how long Diddy was able to get away with this, can we look at the victims that Diddy often chose and how that may correlate to why law enforcement took so long to look into this? Because that is what really makes me angry. I also can't help but feel that this story and the justice that Diddy is finally receiving is an outlier in the fight for justice that many Black women who are victims of SA and assault usually have to face. And I really wanted to address that in this video. Initially, after settling the lawsuit with Cassie so quickly, Sean Combs probably believed he escaped the lawsuit controversy somewhat unscathed. But quickly after, more and more lawsuits began to come out, exposing the many years of abuse at the hands of Sean Diddy Combs. A woman named Lisa Gardner filed a lawsuit in November, right before the Adult Survivors Act expired. In the lawsuit, Gardner claimed that she and a friend met Sean Combs and singer-songwriter Aaron Hall at an MCA Records event in either 1990 or 1992. They returned to Aaron Hall's apartment for an after-party where she was offered some drinks, and then was coerced into having sex with Sean Combs, who sadly then assaulted both her and her friend. And Lisa Gardner claimed that later that night, she was also sexually assaulted by Aaron Hall as well. And even worse, days later, Sean Combs, worried that Lisa Gardner would expose him, showed up at Lisa Gardner's home and attacked her. Another complaint was filed the same day by Joy Dickerson Neal, who claimed that in 1991 she reluctantly went on a date with Sean Combs, who intentionally drugged and sexually assaulted her after their dinner.
Sean Diddy Combs denying in court documents that he drugged and sexually assaulted a woman on video decades ago. Joy Dickerson Neal, one of the women accusing Sean Combs of assault.
According to Joy, the assault was in 1991 when she was in college, and Sean Diddy Combs videotaped the entire assault. And then he distributed the tape to other people in the music industry. And Joy's attorney said in a news release that this caused severe harm to Miss Dickerson Neal's reputation, career prospects, and emotional well-being. 1991 is an important year of note because Sean Diddy Combs was still building his career, his power, his reputation. In 1991, he hadn't yet released his debut album, No Way Out. He was still working as a talent director at Uptown Records. To commit this act, which is so similar to the claims of other women who have come forward down the line after Diddy had come to power, money, fame, and influence, shows that while money and power may have given Diddy more access, the greater ability to manipulate and control, coerce, and to bribe, ultimately, the way that he's acted throughout his entire life, his inner personhood, has always been this way. It's always remained the same. Around this time, Diddy stepped down as chairman of Revolt temporarily, which is the media company that he founded in 2013. Company said in a statement, while Mr. Combs had previously had no operational or day-to-day role in the business, this decision helps to ensure that Revolt remains steadfastly focused on our mission to create meaningful content for the culture and amplify the voices of all Black people throughout the country and the African diaspora. Capital Prep Harlem, a charter school that Diddy opened in 2016, which big yikes there, as you'll find out later in this video, also announced that it would end its partnership with Diddy. However, Diddy taking a break from his businesses, virtually ghosting and going silent, which somehow a lot of public figures accused of sexual abuse of any sort tend to do. They just go silent. Somehow that doesn't stop the allegations and backlash from continuing. Wouldn't you know? It's like they think if they just disappear, then all the allegations will disappear along with them. But that's not really how it works. Instead, the allegations continue to pile up. Early December, another woman referred to as Jane Doe filed a fourth lawsuit. The woman sued Sean Diddy Combs, claiming that he and two other men her 20 years ago in a New York City recording studio when she was only 17 years old. Jane Doe alleged that Sean Combs and his longtime right-hand man, Harvey Pierre, as well as a third unidentified man, all gang her in Sean Combs's Manhattan recording studio. The woman was in 11th grade and in high school. Harvey Pierre flew Jane Doe, who was 17 years old at the time, from Detroit to New York City on a private jet, then took her to the recording studio where she was given drugs and alcohol. And apparently, because these men are not only monsters but dumbasses, The complaint also includes photos that were taken during this time of Jane Doe sitting on Diddy's lap. 17-year-old Jane Doe in the recording studio at the time that this took place, sitting on Diddy's lap, as if he's invincible, as if he could never go to jail for this. And yet Sean Combs has the audacity to make a statement saying that all of this is false, a witch hunt against him. But in a way, I wish I could bring out my pitchforks, if you know what I mean. For the last couple of weeks, I have sat silently and watched people try to assassinate my character, destroy my reputation and my legacy, Sean Combs said in a statement. If you were so worried about your reputation and your legacy, maybe you should have thought about that before, I don't know, doing reprehensible things that could come back to bite you in the ass, treating people like shit. Guess what? If you're a shitty human being and you treat people like shit, you're the one that creates your reputation on your own. And that stuff will eventually come out. Sickening allegations have been made against me by individuals looking for a quick payday. Let me be absolutely clear. I did not do any of the awful things being alleged. I will fight for my name, my family, and for the truth. Enough is enough, Diddy says on Instagram. Was, in fact, not enough, as there was more information that would come to light. In February of 2024, Rodney Jones Jr., a musician and producer known as Lil Rod, filed a federal lawsuit against Sean Combs, alleging that Sean Combs sexually harassed, and threatened him. In 2022, Sean Combs hired Lil Rod to work on his 2023 R&B album, The Love Album Off the Grid, hence the photo of Diddy in this thumbnail of him holding up a heart sign. Rodney Jones lived with Sean Combs between September of 2022 and November of 2023, and throughout that time worked with several high-profile musicians. And over the 14 months that Rodney Jones spent living with Sean Combs, they developed an unconventional relationship, according to the complaint. The Love Album Off the Grid dropped on September 5th of 2015, featured famous artists like Summer Walker, Busta Rhymes, Sway Lee, The Weeknd, French Montana, 21 Savage, Justin Bieber, John Legend, Coco Jones, and Burna Boy, among others. A stacked feature list. And a ton of high-profile producers also helped behind the scenes, like Stevie J, Babyface, Timbaland, to name a few. If anything, the Love album definitely showcases the many connections that Diddy developed over his many years in the music industry. Then 5 months later, on February 26th of 2024, Lil Rod filed a report to the New York federal court where he sought $30 million in restitution. In the filing, Jones made damning allegations against Diddy. While working with Combs, he was sexually assaulted, forced by Sean Combs to engage in sex acts, made to solicit sex workers, drugged, humiliated, and said that he was repeatedly groped, all while in Diddy's orbit. Rodney Jones also claimed that he was cheated out of over $50,000 for his work on Sean Combs' album. So many people have endured such similar treatment and abuse at the hands of Sean Combs, though unfortunately, because so much of this was kept in the dark from the public, so many people endured this same treatment at the hands of Diddy for so many years, and he was allowed to get away with this. Lil Rod's lawsuit went on to describe some really disturbing detail. In the lawsuit, Lil Rod recalled an occasion where he woke up in a bed disoriented with two sex workers and Sean Combs, completely naked, believed that Sean Combs had drugged him. Lil Rod claimed that Diddy installed multiple hidden cameras in his properties in Miami and Los Angeles. At these properties, Diddy would hold parties, giving artists a chance to climb the ladder in their career, basically giving them access to music executives. During these parties, Diddy's hidden cameras supposedly would capture celebrities, politicians, music label executives, and athletes, all engaging in illegal illegal activity. All of these people were recorded without their consent. The lawsuit alleged that Mr. Combs possesses compromising footage of every person who has attended his freak-off parties and his house parties.
What do you think about them accusing Diddy of having cameras in his house so he can record celebrities and politicians and use it as blackmail?
So I firmly believe that's true. That's how a lot of these agreements get made. People get endorsed. How they get that deal out of nowhere?
It's believed that Diddy used this footage as blackmail. And once this came to light in the lawsuit, I am sure there were so many high-profile people who attended a Diddy party shitting their pants. Many people compared this aspect of the Diddy case, the fact that he filmed compromising footage of high-profile people and used it as blackmail, to Jeffrey Epstein. I'm simplifying it. The two cases are not identical in any means whatsoever. But the blackmail aspect is somewhat a common thread, which makes me wonder if many powerful people often gain their power through this manner, either through getting other powerful people to participate in either illegal or just immoral behavior with them, so that those powerful people just feel like they're in cahoots with them, therefore feeling like they need to associate with them when it comes to business endeavors, or they'll obtain blackmail on powerful people in given industries as a way of always maintaining control on a given industry or profession. Young Miami's relationship with Sean Combs has always been a mystery.
I'm single, you know. I'm single, but I'm dating. I'm just taking my time with life.
All right. So what we is?
I'm just have a good time, you know. We
Is
have a
that
good
fun?
time. Yeah, you the funnest. You the funnest. Young Miami.
But Young Miami and Sean Combs have had an on-again, off-again relationship throughout 2022 and 2023. Then by April of 2023, the relationship was officially done, with Young Miami telling The Cut, "Still good friends, but we're single. That's not my man. We had our own situation. I'm not gonna put a title on it." Seems like in September of 2023, Young Miami and Diddy were somewhat back together, so the relationship status was always somewhat unknown.
What was your favorite time that I took you off the grid?
We want the real details. It's explicit. Say whatever you want.
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all can get the real details, but we had went to Love Island for my birthday.
Yeah.
Very first time.
Yeah, I have an island.
However, in Lil Rod's lawsuit, he alleged that he has irrefutable evidence of Young Miami's cousin and or assistant actually assaulting him. He also alleged that Young Miami was among those who was paid a monthly fee to work as a sex worker, as well as to help Diddy in transporting drugs, including pink cocaine, also known as 2D, a combination of MDMA, cocaine, and caffeine.
These are the ingredients for Tuesday. And I gotta be honest, I don't think caffeine was necessary.
Young Miami tried to defend herself against these allegations by tweeting, "Y'all be going for anything." User on Twitter then responded, "You for that $250K a month," referencing the $250K allowance that Young Miami allegedly received from Diddy.
But sources close to them are saying that they actually have been dating for a while now, and Carisha gets whatever she wants from him. They say that he absolutely spoils her. Now, if you don't know, Diddy is worth almost $900 million. So we just gonna go ahead and say it's a billionaire, okay? We just gonna say that. But sources say that she gets whatever she wants from him, you guys, that he gives her $250,000 a month just for her to do whatever she wants to do with it.
And she responded by denying this allowance, something that the internet made up and y'all ran with it. She tweeted, "Despite seeming to stand with Diddy publicly, Young Miami unfollowed Diddy on Instagram in May of 2024, seemingly cutting her ties with Diddy for good, at least in the public eye." In the lawsuit, Rodney Jones believed that Diddy was him with the goal of passing him off to others. While on a yacht in January of 2023, Lil Rod was introduced to Oscar-winning actor Cuba Gooding Jr., who proceeded to grope him until he was forcibly pushed away. Cuba Gooding Jr. is an American actor who first garnered notoriety for his breakout role as Trey Styles in Boys in the Hood. Lil Rod claimed that Diddy had domination and control over Cuba Gooding Jr., yet failed to step in when he began to sexually Lil Rod on this yacht. And this is not the first time that someone accused Cuba Gooding Jr. In 2019, Cuba Gooding Jr. was booked on charges of misdemeanor forcible touching and sexual abuse in the third degree in New York City. In August of 2020, a woman filed a lawsuit in New York City accusing him of sexually assaulting her in 2013. And as of August of 2020, 30 women have come forward accusing Cuba Gooding Jr. of unwanted touching. In Jones's lawsuit, an unnamed rapper is said to have been on the yacht, where they were allegedly seen consorting with underage girls and sex workers. Further down in the complaint, this person, whose name is redacted, described as a Philadelphia rapper who dated Nicki Minaj, which is pretty specific. Pretty specific. And really, there's only one person who falls within that category, and that is the rapper Meek Mill. Meek Mill is from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and dated Nicki Minaj from 2014 to 2016. According to Lil Rod, this same rapper, along with producer Stevie J and an unnamed R&B singer, allegedly engaged in sexual intercourse with Diddy. The rapper is again described in a footnote as a Philadelphia rapper who dated Nicki Minaj. Meek Mill's sexual orientation has been widely debated online. In my opinion, someone's sexual orientation is nobody's business, and I don't know why it's such a big deal or so scandalous in the hip-hop industry if somebody is bi or gay, but that's besides the point. A video resurfaced where Diddy calls Meek Mill daddy while both of them are on the yacht. Meek Mill seemingly uncomfortably responded back, which added further to the speculation.
Man, you doing it, man. You deserve it, daddy. You putting in that work. Proud of you. I love you. Yeah.
The thing is, with so much sexual harassment and exploitation happening surrounding the Diddy case, even if something sexual did happen between Meek Mill and Diddy, we don't even know if it is consensual. So for people online to assume Meek Mill's sexuality and to even go a step further and make fun of Meek Mill, harass him for his potential sexuality, could be very, very wrong if there was potential involved. I just don't think it's right to jump to conclusions if we don't know the full story yet. Also, focusing on Meek Mill's sexuality could potentially distract from the other allegation that was made, which is that he consorted with underage girls, which you would think is a much more serious allegation to focus on. Like, can we look at that one a little bit more, please? Can we focus on that one a little bit more? Maybe for everyone involved. There have also been other audios of Meek Mill and Diddy allegedly released that have been posted online and gone viral, but because they're just audios with no video, it's in my opinion pretty impossible to trust, and Meek Mill himself has vehemently denied the legitimacy of these audio clips. Meek Mill also made a few tweets denying any further association with Diddy and the crimes that he's been alleged of participating in. I'm from Philly. I don't do coke or freaky ass Molly. Nobody won't even offer me coke because I'm that heavy. No man or what would ever approach me about gay activity, and the whole place don't get flipped. Woke up seeing this on every blog like they know I'm coming. LOL. Andrew Tatertot tweeted about this saying, so P. Diddy was having sex with Meek Mill and Usher? And Meek Mill replied, was you trafficking women? The F wrong with you, Brody? Because more and more people began circulating the story that Meek Mill was intertwined with Diddy. Meek Mill ended up making a post on X offering $100,000.
And earlier this week, he put an offer on the table, a $100,000 reward for anyone who can figure out how he got named in Rodney Jones' lawsuit in the first place.
I want to hire an investigative team, $100K cash, to find out every specific detail involving Meek Mill named to Diddy case. I also want them to look at who is powering the media involving Meek, anything to do with Diddy. Something not right. The streets know what's up with me, and that's not the case. We talking about business side. Somebody powering these bad campaigns. With Meek Mill, again, I got $100,000 for a thorough investigation of who's powering and how exactly my name's connected to this. And 50 Cent decided to get involved yet again, sharing a Rick James music video of a romantic scene with Diddy and Meek Mill's faces generated into the scene. They've been doing Meek dirty. He want to pay $100K to find out who doing this. LOL. In Lil Rod's lawsuit, he also talked about an unnamed R&B singer who also allegedly engaged in sexual intercourse with Diddy. The R&B singer is described as someone who performed at the Super Bowl and had a successful Vegas residency. And many people immediately thought of Usher. Usher took over Las Vegas in 2021 when he started his first Vegas residency at the Coliseum in Caesar's Palace. Is that cozy? Yeah. Okay. It was a 20-show residency and every night was sold out. He parlayed that residency into another one at the Park MGM. Then Usher headlined the Super Bowl halftime show in 2024.
But if you do call, know that God answers prayers. They said I wouldn't make it. They said I wouldn't be here today. But I am.
And on top of that, rumors surrounding Diddy and Usher's strange relationship have already been circulating for years before this lawsuit has ever come out. Usher first met Diddy in 1994 after record executive L.A. Reid, who was scouting Usher, sent the then 15-year-old, yes, Usher was 15 years old, to temporarily live with Diddy. Yes, live with Diddy to attend his flavor camp. Oh my gosh, what? Apparently, Reid, who scouted Usher, introduced him to the industry, wanted Usher to be mentored by Diddy while experiencing his lavish lifestyle.
I moved to New York City. And I lived with Sean Puffy Combs for a year.
That's the crazy thing. Now, that was L.A. Reid's idea, right? We're sending you over to something called Puffy Flavor Camp.
There you go.
To learn
Flavor
some...
Camp.
Yeah,
Flavor
that's
Camp.
what it was called. And you're going to go to Puff Daddy's. He's going
in the 90s. Do you understand what that's like?
Puffy's place was like just filled with chicks and like nonstop, right?
No, not really. I mean, but hey, it was curious. I got a chance to see some things.
Yeah, but you were 13. What were you seeing?
I went there to see the lifestyle.
Right.
And I saw it. And it was but I don't know if I could indulge and understand what I was even looking at. It was pretty wild.
So nobody tried to, some woman didn't come along.
I didn't say that.
Okay.
I didn't say that. What I did say is that there were very curious things taking place. And I didn't necessarily understand it. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
14 years old.
That just feels like the perfect ingredients for being groomed. You're not only being introduced to someone as a mentor-like figure, aka someone you should listen to, look up to. They're going to teach you the ways, but also you're going to experience their lavish lifestyle. So they're going to show you all these flashy, fancy things, introduce you to the ways, the glamorous lifestyle, make it so that you'll never want to leave their side. Basically, would the red flags get any more crimson? For a young teenager to live with an adult, a practically all-powerful music industry executive like Diddy was at the time, is not just not appropriate on any level. It's, in my opinion, the very basis of grooming. The power dynamics are completely skewed in absolutely every way.
I know, and people know, that was around in that time that Puff and Usher did have a situation. And that situation led Usher to the hospital. Now, I let Usher explain that to y'all. I let Usher tell that story. Because you taking up for somebody that you know and a lot of more people know didn't do you right when you was at Diddy camp.
While speaking with people, Usher talked about meeting Diddy, who invited him to come to New York City. I got a tutor, went to New York City, and he began to show me the ropes. Some of the most valuable lessons I could ever learn as an entrepreneur were picked up when I spent time in New York with him. This unwavering desire to create and make certain that your creative ideas were executed. I saw him in real time, working it out, him building something from nothing, him understanding how culture and collaboration could build careers. Being able to see that's what I got. Feeling indebted to a high-profile person when you're young and starting out, like that person is the reason for the success in your career, is probably not a good position to be in. And while living with Diddy, Usher was surrounded by high-profile people like Biggie Smalls, Lil Kim, Faith Evans.
Biggie Smalls was there.
Biggie Smalls was there. Lil Kim.
And Diddy introduced him to this glamorous lifestyle where he could have stars in his eyes. All of this can be yours for a price. The two of them flew around the country and often partied until sunrise when Usher was still extremely young.
Can you stay up till 4 a.m. with them and party?
I mean, I could. I actually stayed up longer than them.
And Diddy lived such an inappropriate lifestyle that I cannot imagine a possibility, a realm of a possibility, where introducing Usher to just a glimpse of this lifestyle when he was just a teenager couldn't have scarred him for life. Especially when, according to Usher, his parents were completely unaware that any of this was happening.
And your parents were Mary J. Blige, they didn't know nothing about this shit. Oh. I was having a good time, you know what I mean?
2004, Usher told Rolling Stone that Diddy introduced him to a totally new set of shit. Specifically, a grown-ass man should not be introducing a teenager to sex. And that shouldn't be seen as acceptable to the point where you're talking about it in an interview for a magazine. Sex is so hot in the industry, man, Usher explained to the Rolling Stone. There was always girls around. You'd open a door and see somebody doing it. That should never be normal in an industry. Or several people in a room having an orgy. You never knew what was going to happen. Years later, a video would resurface with Kevin Hart, Diddy, and Usher. In the video, Diddy talked about a story where Usher woke up and him and Diddy wrestled over Frosted Flakes.
Don't sit on the bed at night, no homo.
First and foremost, I'm not getting in the bed. Usher look like he fresh off got plane.
My brother right here from day one, we used to wake up and, pause, but like, check this out. Back in the days when he was like 10 and I was a little bit older, his older brother, we used to fight over the Frosted Flakes.
Afterwards, Diddy jokingly put him in a headlock.
Yo, what the did Puff just say? Nobody's gonna acknowledge this but me. Puff just said we used to wrestle over the Frosted Flakes. And we're streaming live.
To immediately assume that Frosted Flakes means a sexual innuendo? What kind of twisted world do you live in? Years later, Usher is way more vague about his time living with Diddy, but says that he would never personally allow his children to stay with Diddy.
What a life.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
14 years old. You're a dad now. Would you ever send your kid to Puffy camp?
Oh no.
See? Yeah, major second that. With everything that has recently come out about Diddy's alleged acts, many people have wondered whether Diddy has groomed and sexually assaulted Usher when he was younger, because there can be so much shame for people who have been sexually assaulted, particularly men. I do want to bring up the statistic that men who sexually assault boys do not care about their sexuality. They do it for power and domination. Unfortunately, Usher is not the only person in the industry rumored to have been groomed by Diddy. When Justin Bieber was an extremely young tween and met with manager Scooter Braun and signed with Raymond Braun Media Group, which was a joint venture between Usher and Scooter Braun, Justin Bieber signed with L.A. Reid. There's that name again, L.A. Reid. That's been popping up a lot. But anyways, Justin Bieber signed with L.A. Reid's record label, Island Records. In his memoir, Sing to Me, L.A. Reid talked about the first time he met Justin Bieber, saying, Usher walked into my office with this adorable 14-year-old boy. This kid was beautiful, like a woman can be beautiful, and men rarely are. And he turned it on as soon as he stepped into the room. 14 years old. And you're talking about the beauty of this young boy and how he turned it on as he walked into the room. You're disgusting. L.A. Reid also presumably sent Justin Bieber to Diddy's flavor camp, as Justin Bieber spent 48 hours under Diddy's care.
As soon as you turn 16, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna let you rock this every time you come in. I'm like, yeah.
Man.
Head out. Minute.
Woo. Okay.
Okay. So check this out, yo. Justin, you ever seen the movie 48 Hours? Right now, he's having 48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives, like, you know, where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream. I have been given custody of him. You know, he signed to Usher.
I'm signed to Usher.
I had legal guardianship of Usher when you know he did his first album. I did Usher's first album. I don't have legal guardianship of him, but for the next 48 hours, he's with me. So and we gonna go full crazy.
I'm going crazy.
A 14-year-old staying with a grown-ass adult for 48 hours. Fuck everybody in the music industry. As a mother with a child, this makes me rage. Rage. I wouldn't even send my fur babies for 48 hours to stay with Diddy. Even just thinking about that makes me shake with rage. It's unclear what happened during these 48 hours that Justin stayed with Diddy, which a lot can happen in 48 hours. But Justin Bieber and Diddy would reconnect sometime later, during which Diddy questioned Justin Bieber about why he stopped reaching out to him.
Starting to act different, huh? You ain't been calling me and hanging out the way we used to hang out.
Well, I mean, you try to get in contact with me, you know, through all my, partners and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But you never really got my number, so.
Right. Okay.
My number?
Yeah.
You're a grown adult. Why are you pestering this child about why they're not reaching out to you, texting you, calling you, whatever it is you want from them? Leave them alone. Go be an adult. Run your businesses. Why do you want messages from a 14-year-old? Do you want to go? Okay, just don't scratch me. In a 2014 episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, Khloe Kardashian said she went to a party where half the people were butt naked.
Well, this party, I think half the people there were butt naked.
Her sister Courtney asked who was there, and Khloe said, Diddy, Justin Bieber, French Montana.
So who was with you this weekend? A bunch of my friends. Diddy, Quincy, Justin Bieber, so far French so good. Montana. Do you even know half the people you're naming? No.
Justin Bieber would have been 19 or 20 in 2014. Sean Combs also attended Justin Bieber's 22nd birthday party in 2016, where he gave him a Bad Boy Records jacket.
The bad boy. Oh, he's bad boy now.
Signing the bad boy.
It's your icon alert. It's called He's Bad Boy Now. It's called Don't Ever Play Yourself.
In July of 2021, Justin Bieber posted a throwback photo of himself and Diddy that he captioned, "My bro at Diddy, throwback." There was a song on TikTok that went viral that appeared to be from Justin Bieber with the lyrics saying he lost himself at a Diddy party, but CBS News reported that that song was fake and likely AI generated. Due to his relationship with Diddy after all the recent news has come out, a source told In Touch Weekly, Justin doesn't really want to talk publicly about his relationship with Diddy, but he may have to. I'm not sure if Diddy did anything that Justin now thinks crossed the line, but if he does, he's not saying. If Justin has to address his past interactions with Diddy, he will. There's been other reports that Justin Bieber is very distraught about the recent news that's resurfaced regarding Diddy, but I think ultimately no one can say exactly what happened behind closed doors, besides saying that it's extremely inappropriate for a group of executives, a group of powerful adult executives in any industry, to welcome in a teenager who's aspirational in that industry into their home, especially when those same adults call that teenager beautiful years later. At the end of the day, it is Justin Bieber's story, and he has a right not to speak on it, especially since there is so much shame associated with male SA. Even in this video, you can see how many people automatically jump to conclusions simply because they were involved with Diddy, when ultimately we just don't know. And I think that the level of SA that took place with many men who were involved with Diddy might be more than we initially think because of the shame involved in coming forward.
I go to the Kanye West concert, you know, I'm going there to see, you know, Kanye do his thing. I don't have any, you know, nothing but high expectations. Concert changed my life. I ain't gonna lie, I was so impressed and inspired. It was beautiful, man. And I fell in love with hip hop again. And I wanted to say thank you, Kanye.
After more and more news was coming out about Diddy, people were finally more comfortable sharing their stories, going against the immense power structure that was the Sean Diddy Combs empire. And one of those people that spoke out was Nikki Heaton. During an Instagram live, singer Nikki Heaton recalled an incident where she was allegedly sexually assaulted by Kanye West and Diddy at a recording studio during the beginning of her career. 2014, Nikki Heaton found success performing hip-hop songs on YouTube that went viral. Eventually, Nikki Heaton signed with All Def Digital, a YouTube-based record label. Nikki Heaton claims that Ye invited her to a studio to work on music around this time.
We got a call. It was late. We were living in LA, and we get a call, and it's like, hey, like Ye wants you to come to the studio, and we're like, cool. Like, why? And he's like, he wants to work on music. And we're like, that's great.
Nikki Heaton said yes. And when she went to the studio, she was left in a room with Ye, a record executive that works with him, his cousin, Ye's engineer, and Sean Diddy Combs.
We walk in and it's Kanye and it's Diddy. And, you know, a couple of people that we know, men. Kanye and Diddy are already like out of their fucking mind. Just like completely fucked up.
Nikki Heaton alleged that then, at that point, Ye and Diddy started pressuring Nikki Heaton to remove her clothes.
Kanye and Diddy have realized that I'm the only girl in the room. And they start coming towards me and they're like, don't you want to take your clothes off? Like, it's so hot in here. And I'm like, no, fine. I'm fine like this. And they're like, come on, like, it's just us.
From there, Nikki claimed that the situation began to escalate, which is so scary. Being the only woman alone with a bunch of high-profile people in the music industry, the rappers even began to tear her clothes off as she was backed into the exit door.
I start to get a little bit apprehensive because I'm pretty much like backed up against the wall. Like, there's only one exit and I'm pressed up against this door.
Nikki Heaton claimed that she mouthed the word help to the other men in the room and they completely ignored her.
I'm like, you guys, like, seriously, this isn't funny anymore. And I look to my left where his executive is. Like, we know him pretty well. And I look and I'm like, hey, like, I give that look where I'm just like, come on, like, step in. Like, this isn't cool. Like, you're a grown man. Like, you're like 50 years old. I know you have a family. Like, you know this isn't right. Like, do something. And this is the part that for as long as I live, I will never forget. As these two grown men were pawing at me, trying to take my clothes off, I look over to this man asking for help, and I literally mouth the word help, and we lock eyes. And he looks away. And I'm like, okay, there's still two more men in the room. And I look to his engineer next, who's sitting right next to him. And I know that he's married, and he just had a little baby girl, and I'm like, okay, he's gonna do something. I look at him next, and I'm like, okay, like, do something, say something, do anything. And he looks down at his phone and starts texting. And then I was like, oh. I look at Kanye's cousin next. Do something, you know, like fucking do something. And he spins his chair around. And that's when that like gut-wrenching fear set in. And I was like, oh shit. No one's fucking saving me tonight. No one's gonna do anything. No one's gonna do anything. And that's when I was truly fucking scared.
People who witness abuse and turn a blind eye to it, are they complicit? Are they culpable? Should there be a level of blame, a level of liability for those people? After Nicki alleged that the rappers tried to rip off her pants, she claimed that she lunged at them and ran for the exit and hid inside a darkened studio. She sat there for 20-25 minutes crying, wondering what she should do next.
So I lunged forward. I stepped forward. And it like threw them off balance. Like they were like, oh, you know, and like they stepped back at least 1.5 feet. And the moment that they did, I reached behind my back, I pulled the door and I slipped out, grabbing my clothes. And I ran across the hall, across this corridor, and I hid inside of an empty studio that was black.
She ended up eventually leaving the studio along with another girl who was presumed to be Cassie, who was dating Diddy at the time.
I don't think I'm supposed to say this next part because it could hurt her case. I mean, I got us both out and I got us in an Uber, and she obviously didn't remember anything because she was drugged.
The moral of the effing story: stay out of the industry. If you have daughters, make sure to tell them that they're idols they should never meet, and never go to the effing studio with anyone, even if you're invited there as an artist, unless you have a bodyguard with you. Good advice, honestly. I second never meet your idols. Since the incident, Nicki Heaton has pivoted away from music in recent years. She now lives on a farm in Nashville, Tennessee with her 2 sons and farm animals. Then on March 25th of 2024, it seemed something major went down as Sean Combs was raided by Homeland Security. Homeland Security raided both of Diddy's homes in LA and Miami, and this was all due to a possible sex trafficking investigation.
This is Diddy's waterfront mansion in Miami Beach, Florida, worth $35 million. The estate spans 8,000 square feet and has 6 bedrooms along with 10 bathrooms.
There was a lot of reaction to the simultaneous raids on homes in Florida and California linked to music mogul Sean Diddy Combs.
Amid the raid, Fox 11 showed several people outside Diddy's homes in handcuffs, including Diddy's sons.
Homeland Security tells ET the bi-coastal operation is part of an ongoing investigation. His 2 sons, 30-year-old Justin and 25-year-old King. At one point, they seem to be sharing a laugh. It's also worth noting, Homeland Security tackles trafficking crimes, something Diddy was accused of in a lawsuit by his ex Cassie back in November.
Diddy and his daughters were not in their homes at the time of the raid. They were at the airport traveling to an unknown location when they were intercepted by the feds. Video footage shows Diddy aimlessly pacing around outside the customs office at the airport, probably realizing at this point his life is fucked.
I guess you wonder what's going to happen next, Diddy. I know.
During the raid, investigators were seizing weapons that belonged to Combs as well as phones, and it's unclear how many devices were confiscated. In response to this raid, Diddy's lawyers claimed that Homeland Security used excessive force. I'm not even going to comment on that aspect and the irony. They also claimed that this was an unprecedented ambush. Yeah, because if it wasn't an ambush, then Diddy would have had the opportunity to, you know, hide evidence. In the midst of the raid, Diddy's alleged drug mule, allegedly supplying the drugs needed for these parties, 25-year-old Brendan Paul, was arrested and booked on 2 separate drug charges after authorities intercepted Diddy's plane. The plane that his daughters were also on.
Now this is Brendan Paul. He was arrested for possession of cocaine and marijuana gummies, and this is unrelated to that larger investigation by the feds, but Paul is named one of several civil lawsuits filed against Diddy as a drug mule working for the music mogul.
Brendan Paul was someone who was named in Rodney Jones's lawsuit. Rodney Jones alleged that Brendan Paul was Sean Combs's drug mule. You wonder if arresting Brendan Paul was a tactic and a larger strategy to eventually take down Sean Combs. There's been a lot of misinformation floating around in conjunction with the Homeland Security raid. A lot of claims that Homeland Security found certain things that they didn't, a lot of fake photos of things that they found, a lot of attempts to try and shock the public. But my personal belief is that spreading misinformation in a case like this is extremely dangerous. For example, there's been an alleged CNN news report that there's underground tunnels underneath Diddy's home, but this has been proven false and a fake news screenshot. At this time, a CNN news representative said on the matter, that is a manipulated image and not something CNN reported. Though pretty soon after the Homeland Security raid, there would be evidence that would come out that would shock the world and provide irrefutable proof that Diddy had committed some of these crimes. In Cassie Ventura's lawsuit, she recalled a freak-off in 2016 at a hotel where Diddy had in the face. Then, when Sean Combs fell asleep, Cassie tried to leave the room, but he woke up as she was trying to do so. He followed Cassie into the hallway, throwing glass vases at her, which would shatter along the corridor. The hotel's security cameras captured the incident, but the lawsuit said that Sean Combs paid the hotel $50,000 for the footage. But in May of this year, CNN published the footage, which dates back to March 5th of 2016. Sean Combs is shown grabbing, shoving, pushing, kicking, dragging Cassie Ventura. After completely assaulting Cassie, Sean Combs also takes her bag and purse from her.
The video is disturbing. Just released surveillance footage from 2016 showing what appears to be Diddy violently assaulting then-girlfriend Cassie. In the video obtained by CNN, Diddy, seen in a towel, strikes Cassie, and after dropping to the ground, she is kicked twice from behind. Diddy then attempts to drag her away from the elevator bank. Later in the footage, it appears Diddy shoves Cassie in the corner, then throws an object in her direction.
Once this video was released, Sean Combs posted a video to Instagram, and it seems like Sean Combs's statement or apology was a stereotypical, I was in a bad place mentally, but now I've gone to therapy and found a relationship with God.
It's so difficult to reflect on the darkest times in your life. Sometimes you gotta do that. I hit rock bottom, but I make no excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video.
So you and your lawyers publicly denied that you ever mistreated Cassie. But the second irrefutable video proof comes out that you can no longer deny, all of a sudden you're talking about your mental health and your spiritual beliefs. That is such a deflection. In response to this Instagram video, Cassie's attorney wrote in a statement, Sean Combs' most recent statement is more about himself than the many people he has hurt. When Cassie and multiple other women came forward, he denied everything and suggested that his victims were looking for a payday. That he was only compelled to apologize once his repeated denials were proven false shows his pathetic desperation. Then, after the footage of Cassie was released and the general public was believing victims of Diddy more and more, the floodgates were open, and finally more victims felt comfortable to come forward. Former model Crystal McKinney was one of them, claiming that Diddy sexually assaulted her at his recording studio in 2003. At the recording studio, Crystal was drugged and then SA'd. Crystal also claimed that after the assault, her modeling opportunities dried up. Crystal believes that Sean Combs blackballed her. Crystal McKinney became severely depressed as she began to blame herself for the assault and for sabotaging her own career. Living in fear like that for so long, feeling like your career was destroyed because you were a victim of someone, I cannot imagine the torment it is to go through something like that.
What do you think about, this dynamic where it starts to pile up and you're seeing suit after suit after suit? What are you seeing between all of these suits together?
Well, when we look at these suits, it's important to remember that these are civil lawsuits. These are not criminal lawsuits. But we also have to remember that P. Diddy's house was raided, and potentially there are criminal charges in regards to human trafficking, which is federal law and other charges as well. So there potentially could be additional charges, criminal charges that happen.
Days after McKinney's lawsuit was filed, April Lampros, who met Diddy when she was a student, claimed that Diddy SA'd her multiple times between the years of 1995 and the early 2000s.
A woman named April Lampros came forward with the newest lawsuit against him. She claims that she met Diddy back in the 90s when she was a student at FIT.
April is being represented by the same lawyer who's representing Rodney Jones Jr. April was a student at New York's Fashion Institute of Technology, and when April first met Sean Combs, he claimed that he was going to help mentor her in the fashion industry, that he was going to help introduce her to different music and fashion executives, and even assist her in finding work.
Diddy offered her to mentor her in the fashion industry. One night, she met up with him at a bar in Soho, where she claims she was overserved liquor. She started to feel like the walls were closing in on her.
I think if you're passionate in an industry and you genuinely believe that the other person is a respectable professional, then when someone approaches you on a networking basis, then that's what you immediately assume. They do genuinely want to mentor you in the industry. Your immediate thought is not that they want to take advantage of you. But unfortunately for April, what Sean Combs initially displayed as kind gestures quickly turned into an abusive and manipulative relationship, all based around April recalled that he had a terrible temper and often threatened to harm me if I failed to do what he said. But later on, April was informed that Diddy recorded them being intimate with one another and sent that around to different industry people. So April Lampros is suing Diddy for battery, assault, and sexual assault, negligent infliction of emotional distress, and a violation of New York Victims and Gender-Motivated Violence Protection Act. In August of 2024, Adria English became the 9th person to sue Sean Diddy Combs. Adria claimed that Diddy trafficked her when she worked at his white parties in the early 2000s. Something kind of upsetting about this is that a spokesperson for the Miami PD told the Rolling Stone that a report was made regarding this, but that detectives found there wasn't enough substantial evidence to open up an investigation. Though Adria's job didn't initially start out this way, eventually, while working for the white parties, she had to engage in sexual intercourse with party guests, claiming that Sean Combs demanded her to do this and then later congratulated her for a job well done. Sean Combs would sometimes make promises to advance her career in the music industry if she complied with his demands, but if she didn't, then he would turn it around and threaten to blackball her from the industry. Adria English said about that time in her life, "The things that we were forced to do haunt me to this day. I anticipate testifying in New York's federal court to help ensure Diddy's imprisoned for life." Adria's complaint even claims that workers of the parties were forced to drink drug-laced champagne. But since the lawsuit has come out, Adria's attorneys have withdrawn from her case. I hope some sort of justice can be found. Amid all of these lawsuits, Young Miami broke her silence, and Young Miami claimed that she didn't have the experiences with Diddy like those spoken about in the lawsuits. I can't speak on these allegations because I wasn't around at the time. I don't know that person, and that wasn't my experience. Speaking from my own perspective, it's hard to believe that someone who has a long time pattern of behavior over literal decades with different allegations claiming very similar patterns of behavior all of a sudden overnight would change, or that someone in a long-term relationship with them would not notice these patterns of behavior when it's someone like Diddy who was doing it so very publicly. Don't get it twisted, I do know there's a lot of people who can hide who they are for a very long time. Young Miami then turned the focus on herself, claiming that no one asked her how she was doing when all these lawsuits were coming out.
The people that I thought that would be in my corner, or that are like, when I was going through this shit, nobody called me. Nobody called me to see how I was doing. Like, people was really like, you thought.
And Young Miami feigned ignorance on why anyone could be questioning her and her involvement with Diddy, saying that she was just celebrating him like the world was.
I met Diddy at P-Party, and I met him when he was in a love era. And I met Diddy when the world was celebrating him. So I was celebrating him with the world. And I just feel like everybody trying to crucify me for it.
Why do you think that you are so heavily involved in everything?
Because people feel like I was Diddy's biggest cheerleader and I made him my brand. And I feel like Diddy was on brand for me.
People are questioning her, not crucifying her. And they're just questioning what she knows because Young Miami spent so much time with Diddy. They're wondering what she might possibly know. It's that simple. Michigan inmate Derrick Lee Cardello-Smith was granted a temporary restraining order against Diddy for an alleged assault that occurred back in 1997. They were allegedly at a party together when Sean Combs served him a spiked drink. When he finally woke up, he saw Diddy being intimate with a woman, and Diddy turned to him and said, "I did this to you too." So he was suing for $100 million, and he was initially awarded it in full because Diddy failed to show up to the court hearing. And Sean Combs was expected to follow a payment of $10 million per month beginning on October 1st. His attorneys filed to dismiss the judgment. They claimed that they were never informed of Derrick Lee's lawsuit. Eventually, the judge set aside the judgment because they couldn't prove that Derrick Lee effectively served Sean Combs. And in a new case and a new hearing, Sean Combs is likely to win the case because the statute of limitations has expired, according to TMZ. In September of this year, former Danity Kane member Dawn Richard
Hey, it's Danity Kane! You've seen us on TV. Get your tickets now to see us on the Making the Band 4 tour.
filed a lawsuit against Sean Combs. She alleged that Sean Combs SA'd her, deprived her of food and sleep, and refused to pay her adequately. Dawn Richard also confessed that she witnessed Diddy abuse former girlfriend Cassie Ventura on multiple occasions. She also claimed that she saw Sean Combs and his associates engaging in illegal drugs and activities with underage girls. So many lawsuits talk about underage girls, and I feel like that's a part that's getting brushed over way more than it should be. The complaint said, over the decades following his rise to fame, Mr. Combs' star-studded, larger-than-life persona overshadowed his vicious temper and pervasive acts of violence directed towards those in his inner circle, specifically women. Dawn Richard became associated with Sean Combs after being on season 3 of the reality show Making the Band.
Hey everybody, it's Dawn here. I am going to be a part of Making the Band. I'm super excited to be a part of this.
Making the Band was a reality TV show aired on MTV that is exactly as it sounds. A manager forms together a band or pop group. It was originally created by infamous manager Lou Pearlman, the manager behind NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys, and also known to be exploitative. Its intention was to provide a behind-the-scenes look at the music industry and was later overtaken by Sean Combs and focusing on R&B.
He's a businessman, and he really is educated and he knows exactly what needs to be done. I think we all respect him for that because at the end of the day, he has a track record.
Richard stated that during the audition process, Combs would often call women names like fat, ugly, and bitches. Her and her bandmates were forced to rehearse up to 48 hours with little food and rest.
It's 6 o'clock and begins. Diddy is making us on this 72-hour ridiculous schedule where we eat, sleep, and breathe the life of an artist. And we're prepared. Bring it on, Diddy.
She lost a substantial amount of weight and began to get rashes from the microphone pack on her back. Richard claims that she was later diagnosed in 2010 with anemia, arthralgia, joint stiffness caused by overuse, sprains, and infections such as rheumatic fever and chickenpox. In the lawsuit, Dawn Richard also said that Sean Combs would come into her dressing room unannounced. When she was working with a stylist, Diddy would touch her in inappropriate areas of her body to tell the stylist where her clothing should fall. And if Dawn Richard tried to refuse any of Sean Combs' creepy advances, Sean Combs would retaliate against her by leaving her off of songs and performances. After the band Danity Kane disbanded, Dawn Richard continued to work with Sean Combs in the newly formed trio group Dirty Money, which included her, Sean Combs, and the singer-songwriter Kalenna Harper.
Anybody can get this show started. This next artist coming to the stage, he went from making the band to making his own band. I want y'all to give it up for Dirty Money!
Well, check this out, y'all. This is my new group, Dirty Money. And these ladies, this is Kalenna. and it's Dawn, and together we make dirty money.
But eventually, Dawn Richard began fearing for her physical safety. In one instance, the trio went to Sean Combs' home in LA. When they were in the kitchen, Sean Combs began berating Cassie Ventura for not cooking his eggs correctly. He then threw the pan at her and dragged her up the stairs, according to the lawsuit. But the next day, Sean Combs allegedly bought Richard and Harper both flowers, with a note that said that what they witnessed was just a lover's argument and no one was hurt. The note also said, according to the lawsuit, that if they said anything, there would be consequences. The lawsuit alleges other times that Diddy assaulted Cassie Ventura, including pulling her out of a van by her neck and pinning her to the ground, punching her in the face in the bathroom at a party, and punching her in the stomach at a dinner with several high-profile celebrities, including record executive Jimmy Levine, who he had just struck a $50 million deal with. The lawsuit read, even after Mr. Levine watched Mr. Combs commit a violent assault in front of numerous high-profile witnesses, the Bad Boy Interscope deal took place and remained in effect, providing Mr. Combs with immense financial rewards and enabling him to commit further acts of violence without fear of repercussions. There was even an incident where Diddy Dirty Money was scheduled to perform on Saturday Night Live, but Diddy became irate at the two women, Richard and Harper, and locked them in a bus for several hours. Since Richard had her phone with her, she called her father, who arrived in New York City. Her father threatened to call the police on Sean Combs, who allegedly replied, "Think about your family. Think about your daughter's career." After the SNL performance, Sean Combs allegedly told Richard, "You don't call your dad unless you're in the hospital." Richard was also promised royalties and license fees from Bad Boy Records, which she claims she never received. Diddy Dirty Money, though shortly lived, found a lot of commercial success. And because of that success, Richard estimated that she's owed about $1.2 million in unpaid wages and royalties, more than $350,000 for US tour performances, and at least $1.5 million on her promotion of Ciroc.
What does she hope comes of this case?
Accountability and justice is what she wants the most. For Ms. Richard, of course, we'll be asking for significant financial compensation for what she's alleged she's been through. But for her, it's really about justice. It's really about accountability, and it's really about also, inspiring and empowering others. It was Ms. Ventura's bravery in bringing her lawsuit that inspired Ms. Richard to file hers. She had been suffering in silence until then, and it was empowered by Miss Ventura's bravery when she filed her lawsuit. So Miss Richard also hopes that her bravery and her coming forward may inspire others to come out against other people.
Amid Dawn Richard's lawsuit, unfortunately, Kalenna Harper did not have her back. She took to her Instagram stories saying, "I acknowledge the recent lawsuit filed by Dawn Richard, in which my name has been mentioned 33 times. While I fully respect Dawn's right to recount her experiences, I want to emphasize that her account reflects her personal perspective and should not be interpreted as a universal truth applicable to everyone involved. It's important to understand that while I was present in some of the same professional settings mentioned, many of the allegations and incidents described in the suit are not representative of my experiences, and some do not align with my own truth. You're gonna deny that Diddy did these things after all of these lawsuits? You're really gonna take the side with Diddy. What a stand-up act." But it turns out that Mrs. Harper and her husband, Tony, have been working with Diddy for quite some time. Not only Harper, but both her and her husband's financial interests have been invested in the Diddy enterprise. Tony and I have always conducted ourselves with the highest level of professionalism and integrity. Why do you need to say that? No one's accusing you of not, or your husband. So that makes me raise an eyebrow that you feel the need to say that. We were not involved in, nor were we aware of any behavior that could be considered abusive or unlawful.
Puff owes me nothing. You know what I mean? He didn't cheat me out of anything. If anything, he treated me better than he probably ever has treated anyone in his life. You know what I mean? It was basically like princess status. Like, this $10,000 shoes, the furs, the jets, the whatever you want. Let's get this album done. I'm gonna take care of you and make sure you're good. And I just love him for it,
According to the Neighborhood Talk, seemingly before this Instagram post went up, Diddy allegedly contacted Harper 54 times in one day. The calls reportedly happened shortly after Dawn Richard filed her lawsuit against Sean Combs. Harper's husband, Tony Vick, is a record producer and club promoter. Those guys have the best reputations, right? He's known for his time as a supporting cast member on seasons 3 and 4 of the reality show Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. But according to LinkedIn, Vic worked as a manager for Bad Boy Entertainment for 4 years, from May of 2008 to 2012.
So, how did you end up working with Diddy? Well, Diddy's my superhero. Diddy is my He-Man. And so, as a little girl, I would always look at Puff and be like, yo, he's like the coolest brown-skinned guy ever. All of a sudden, he comes in and he just hear me like, oh my fucking God, going crazy to the beat on some K-Diddy shit. And he don't got his pants on. He's in his drawers and socks and he's putting pants on. He's like, fuck with his beat. Like, that's how we met. Like, it was just like, magnetically connected to what this music was doing. And we just started vibing.
Amid the lawsuits and allegations of Diddy, many called for his Walk of Fame Hollywood star to be removed. Unfortunately, a Hollywood Chamber of Commerce spokesperson told TMZ they haven't even discussed it, and the organization is powerless in making the star disappear. There's gotta be some sort of irony in that. The chamber stated that while it has the authority to nominate who should receive a Hollywood star, and they can manufacture and install stars upon city approval, and even conduct the Walk of Fame installation ceremony, that they have no authority to remove Hollywood Walk of Fame stars. I mean, to be fair, if they could remove Hollywood Walk of Fame stars, I feel like a lot more people would need to go than just Sean Combs. At least one honorary award was taken away from Sean Combs, as the Board of Trustees at Howard University announced that Sean Combs' honorary degree would be taken away. Sean Combs received an honorary degree from Howard University because he never graduated, but they determined that he received enough life experience and contributed enough to a specific field or industry. Basically, it seems the whole purpose of an honorary degree is you want people of certain accomplishments or recognition to represent your university. So when all this came out, it's not a good look for Howard University. Howard University scrubbed Diddy's name from all documents that listed him as an honorary degree recipient. They also disbanded a scholarship program that was in his name as well. They even returned a $1 million contribution from him.
Howard University is cutting ties with Sean Diddy Combs, the historically black university now rescinding an honorary degree. The university's Board of Trustees said the behavior is so fundamentally incompatible with Howard University's core values and beliefs that he is deemed no longer worthy to hold the institution's highest honor.
Diddy was given the key to New York City, and after a request from Mayor McAdams, he had to now return that key. Mayor Eric Adams of New York City presented Diddy with the key to New York City for Diddy's contributions to music, business, and philanthropy. Big whoops. On June 21st, 2024, Sean Combs suddenly removed all photos and videos on his Instagram account, including the video of his apology to Cassie. Sources told TMZ that Sean Combs just spontaneously decided to do this, but for a period of time, it seemed that Sean Combs went off the grid. During a time when all of these lawsuits were resurfacing about Diddy, so many horrific allegations about how he abused his power and his position in the music industry, there were many people in the music industry who were, interestingly, very quiet.
Lots of people are going down. Imagine how many people just in Hollywood and like behind the scenes must have known. It's actually insane that something so evil can go on for so long.
For a while, it was made into an internet joke and meme.
People want to be making fun of that and making jokes about it and laughing about it and saying, oh, Diddy's innocent. No, he's not innocent. He is guilty. I don't understand why people on social media think everything is funny. It's really not funny. Because what if that was your mum? What if that was your brother?
People meeting Diddy at a park and taking pictures with him, saying in comments that Diddy didn't do it. It seems most of these were intended to be sarcastic, but who knows what young, impressionable people could take that seriously or what misogynistic people could take that seriously. And I wonder if more high-profile people within the music industry spoke about how wrong and insidious this is and came out in support of the victims, if the allegations would have been taken more seriously and not made into an internet joke initially. But that would all change very soon. Sean Diddy Combs was finally arrested on September 16th of 2024 after he was indicted by a federal grand jury.
He was blindsided, completely surprised as he walked into the Park Hyatt Hotel in Midtown Manhattan with a whole entourage. That's him in the black trench coat.
And the two guys in the white shirt.
They are feds. And they very politely escort him. Mr. Combs, please come this way.
Sean Combs was arrested in a Manhattan hotel lobby and eventually denied bail.
This is in Manhattan, Midtown Manhattan.
And you see people walking back and forth.
People walking back and forth. They did a perp walk. You can see them walking him through the hotel to an elevator.
He's already cuffed.
Already cuffed at this point. So that means they cuffed him pretty quickly after the lobby.
One of Diddy's lawyers, Mark Agnifilo, is adamant that Diddy is innocent. He said about the arrest that Diddy is an imperfect person, but he's not a criminal, adding, "Please reserve your judgment until you have all the facts. These are acts of an innocent man with nothing to hide, and he looks forward to clearing his name in court."
I'm not going to say anything that I haven't said in court and that I haven't said in my court papers. So you all have a nice day, and thank you very much.
Can you clarify that? How is he doing?
We have appealed the initial bail decision to the Second Circuit, and we're going to keep trying to get him out in every way that's available to us.
Authorities didn't really seem to take a ton of action against Diddy until these lawsuits began to surface. Of course, we'll never know the extent of the investigation that they may have been doing behind the scenes, but many of these lawsuits brought to light the bizarre, disturbing criminal acts that Diddy was participating in for decades. And I do speculate on whether these public lawsuits, which garnered so much publicity, finally initiated law enforcement to act. While the authorities themselves did not say that the lawsuits are what sparked the criminal investigation, one of Diddy's lawyers, Aaron Dyer, said the case was based on meritless accusations made in civil lawsuits. But once the indictment was unsealed, the public could see all the things that Diddy was being charged with. In the indictment, prosecutors allege that since 2008, Sean Combs has been part of a criminal organization. This criminal organization engaged in or attempted to engage in sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, obstruction of justice, and other offenses. Using the term organization makes it sound like there are tons of other people involved who will all be linked to this. It also makes me wonder if any tapes were seized during the Homeland Security raid, since it was alleged that Diddy recorded many of his infamous parties and many of the acts that went on, which could incriminate other notable people in the music and entertainment industry. Though I want to make clear, undoubtedly, these tapes, in my opinion, should not be published in any capacity or released to the public in any way, because so many of these tapes probably contain other victims, and the public does not get the right to see that and further exploit these victims' trauma.
In these raids, that federal authorities obtained multiple electronic devices that contained images and videos of freak-offs in action. Federal authorities are indicating that there are multiple victims that they have identified in these videos. And I don't know how this evidence will be presented to the public, but I truly hope that Diddy's victims do not have to be re-victimized by the public.
The indictment also accuses Combs of luring female victims to participate in freak-offs that often involved male sex workers that at times lasted days and were sometimes recorded.
Freak-offs were elaborate and produced S performances that Combs arranged, directed, and often electronically recorded. In arranging these freak-offs, Combs transported commercial S workers across state lines and internationally. Freak-offs occurred regularly, sometimes lasted multiple days, and often involved multiple commercial S workers.
Sean Combs would allegedly use different tactics to ensure participation from these women. like, for example, obtaining and distributing narcotics to them.
There's an entire section in this indictment about freak-offs, and this section included some of the substances that P. Diddy would often sell, use, or feed to his victims.
Controlling their careers, leveraging his financial support, and then threatening to cut off the same, aka financial abuse, and using intimidation and violence. Basically, a combination of all of the most horrific manipulation tactics that one could possibly do. Prosecutors also allege that Combs led a very complicated scheme that would require other people to be in the know, to have to knowingly participate in this, knowingly put these victims through this. Other people would have to participate in recruiting these victims, preparing hotel rooms with baby oil, or drugs, or extra linens for the freak-offs, and then, maybe worst of all, cleaning up afterwards.
Those individuals facilitated the freak-offs. They booked the hotel rooms and stocked them with the supplies, including drugs, baby oil, personal lubricant, extra linens, and lighting. When the hotel rooms got damaged, they helped clean it up. They arranged for victims and commercial sex workers to travel for the freak-offs, and they delivered large quantities of cash to Combs to pay for the commercial sex workers. The indictment also alleges that they helped Combs cover up his crimes.
How does one justify that in their mind? Being in some sort of criminal organization where they routinely, actively participate in inflicting that kind of harm and trauma on so many victims, just for the pleasure of a few powerful men.
Members of the Combs enterprise facilitated the freak-offs. After freak-offs, Combs and victims typically received IV fluids to recover from the physical exertion.
Prosecutors say that the investigation is continuing. According to Damian Williams, the U.S. District Attorney for the new Southern District of New York, said Combs did not do this on his own.
As alleged in the indictment, to carry out this conduct, Sean Combs led and participated in a racketeering conspiracy that used the business empire he controlled to carry out criminal activity. Now, Combs did not do this all on his own. As I mentioned, Combs has been charged with RICO conspiracy. He used his business and employees of that business and other close associates to get his way. Those individuals allegedly included high-ranking supervisors in the business, personal assistants, security staff, and household staff.
The indictment describes the Combs enterprise as a group of individuals associated in fact, though not a legal entity. Sean Diddy Combs is described as, of course, the leader of this organization, and its main purpose, as stated, was to operate a global business, preserve, protect, enhance, and promote the power, reputation, and brand of Sean Combs, enhance and protect the power of the Combs enterprise and Sean Combs through violence and threats of violence, coercion, and verbal, physical, and sexual abuse, fulfilling the personal desires of Combs, including the exploitation of women and the use of commercial sex workers, enabling Combs and other members of the Combs enterprise to engage in unlawful acts of violence, securing absolute loyalty from members of the Combs enterprise, including through acts of violence and threats, protecting the Combs enterprise and its members from detection and prosecution by law enforcement through acts of intimidation, manipulation, bribery, and threats of retaliation against people who witnessed crimes. While we can probably infer that a lot of this information came from those who came forward with their lawsuits, having authorities write it out in an indictment and result in an arrest of Sean Combs, I'm sure brings a lot of justice to a lot of victims out there. William Walker, the acting special agent, also commended those who came forward to authorities. Today, we shatter any false notion of impunity as we uncover the defendant's alleged pattern of manipulation, exploitation, and outright abuse. Make no mistake, we are here today only because of the unwavering strength of victims and witnesses who have already endured unspeakable hardships. The unsealed indictment lists the case as United States of America versus Sean Combs, aka Puff Daddy, aka P. Diddy, aka Diddy, aka PD, aka Love. As satisfying as it may be to see Sean Diddy Combs' empire come crashing down, unfortunately there's kind of a disturbing side to this amount of publicity. For example, alongside Diddy's arrest, he's seen an 18.3% increase in his listening streams. Basically, in a twisted, messed up way, all of this publicity is also promoting Diddy and his music to many people. While it makes sense that a lot of people might want to go back and listen to Diddy's music, see if there's any signs or clues of this behavior, specifically doing things like listening to Diddy's music is only allowing the Combs enterprise to profit further off of his arrest and basically profit off of the spectacle and media attention of their crimes being brought to light. While most of Diddy's actions have been his and his alone, talk of the Diddy enterprise has led a lot of people to wonder who else could be involved, who else in Diddy's close circle knew and participated in all of this. And it's been interesting to look at Diddy's mother, Janice Combs, and the ways in which she's behaved during this time, as well as look back on some of the very questionable behavior that she's displayed during Diddy's past. For example, in a past live stream that Diddy did with his mother, Janice Combs, Diddy mentioned how him and his mother were both getting an IV drip, something that Diddy would often have his victims do after the alleged freak-offs.
Call Mom Dukes.
Hi.
She's getting a drip with me. She's hydrating.
They then kiss each other on the mouth.
I love you.
Love you too.
In the video, it also pans down to his mother wearing white nails.
Mom, freshly dipped though.
You can see other videos of his mother where she would also frequently wear white nails.
This was Diddy's mom at the BET Awards.
Now, while I don't normally overly speculate or play into online theories that don't have a ton of backing to them, I want to point out that Cassie Ventura claimed in her lawsuit that Diddy would force her to wear white nails, especially during these freak-offs. And you can see in many past photos of Cassie during the time period in which she dated Diddy that often her signature look was white nails, to the point that people would post steal her look articles on how to get the perfect Cassie Ventura white nails. But Cassie has not been the only woman seen with Diddy who has been wearing white nail polish. There's also been Kim Porter, Lori Harvey, Young Miami, and most disturbingly of all, Diddy's own daughters. It's important to point out that white nail polish is a common nail color to sport and doesn't necessarily mean anything directly. Correlation does not equal causation, but a lot of people have noticed it and find it to be very strange. So back to the live stream that Diddy did with his mother, Janice Combs. Diddy goes on to talk about how Janice is single.
Me and my mom talked about one time doing a dating show with her. And she's so picky. She's so picky, they don't stand. But yeah, that'd be the funniest show in the world.
It will be. Especially with me.
I don't even want to get started with you.
And then, disturbingly, Diddy goes on to talk about how he takes his mom out to strip clubs.
Mom do know how to have a good time. She ain't sitting in the house playing, and outside moving and shaking, baby. She come with me to the strip club. I don't care. For real. It's my dog, you know, I want to live life. We out here moving and grooving. So my mom told me, she just said, keep moving, baby.
That's right.
Keep moving.
Don't stop.
She could touch the floor with her palms, you know?
Which, in my opinion, is something that a child should not ever be doing with their parent. This live stream, compiled together with all of the behavior that Janice has normalized from her son, starts to paint a very disturbing picture. In a recent lawsuit, which, warning, it's about to get as triggering as it can get, Diddy and several other men are worded a victim, with the help, according to the lawsuit, of Christina Coram, who in a twisted way seemed to play the role of the person who would hand out non-consensually to victims so that they would be incapacitated, and even provided aftercare.
This case is Ashley Parham versus Sean Combs. Christina Coram, Shane Pierce, John Doe's 1 and 3, and then Jane Doe.
Christina entered the room to examine the condition of Ashley, who was barely able to move or control her bodily functions. Christina examined Ashley to see if she needed assistance and was about to give Ashley IV fluids. Ashley doesn't know if she was actually given those IV fluids.
The intention, it seems, from the allegations and in my opinion, was to incapacitate the victim, all so that after the crime took place, the victim would be unable to go to the police immediately afterward, and wouldn't even be able to alert any of the neighbors of the crime that occurred. But Ashley, the victim in this lawsuit, had woken up, had tried to defend herself, and even told them that she was going to the police. Diddy and his entourage threatened her, and when she still continued to say that she was going to go to the police, according to the lawsuit, Diddy put his mother Janice Combs on the phone, and Janice basically tried to guilt trip Ashley. Janice would just say over and over again, "Don't put my son in jail," even when Ashley told Janice that Diddy R-worded her.
Diddy then tells Ashley that no one would ever believe what happened, and if she did tell anybody, they would harm her family. Ashley was not complying with Diddy's request to take the money that he was offering her. Diddy then decides that the appropriate response would be to call his mother. Diddy's mother yelled at Ashley to not hurt her son. Ashley told Diddy's mother that her son had violently grabbed her, and Diddy's mother, seemingly unfazed by the statement, then continued her demands with Ashley to take the money being offered and to not report what happened.
Even after, when the victim tried going to the police, she still was not believed. But still, I heavily blame people like Janice for enabling Sean Combs to continue to do what he did, taking part in this entire system, and even victim blaming, refusing to listen to them or get them any help or stop her son. Who even knows how many others Janice Combs has done that exact same thing to? And after all the horrific news regarding Sean Combs, him and Janice were still seen out together. They were dancing on a yacht together right before Mother's Day. They were also spotted together at his mansion after Sean was facing backlash, and most people, rightfully so, have already dropped him, sort of giving the impression that Janice Combs has absolutely no problem with all the horrific information that's come out about her son. Of course, we never know the full reason for why people do what they do, especially in as complex of a system like this, where many forms of abuse can take place. So I don't want to completely villainize Janice without knowing her story, though the information that has come out paints a very specific picture. I also think, in general, money can really change people. For Janice's 80th birthday, Diddy surprised her with $1 million and a Bentley. Rapper Mace has even claimed that Janice Combs is heavily involved in the Diddy empire, that Janice is even involved in the business itself. The claim is that virtually, one would assume, in an attempt to avoid financial repercussions for legal trouble and to circumvent the system, Diddy put a lot of his assets in his mother and other family members' names. And because of that, Diddy's mom Janice was heavily involved in everything that Diddy did.
Let's start with your mother. Your mother got the receipts. Everything is in your mother's name. That's the one who got the receipts.
Then recently, the picture gets even worse for Janice. As she released a statement, Janice said she is devastated and profoundly sad by all the accusations, but claimed that all of these accusations are lies. In this statement, Janice defends her son. She says that although Sean Combs made mistakes, yeah, interesting. There's video proof of your son assaulting a woman, but you're gonna call all of these accusations lies and just say that was some mistakes. Anyways, she said although he had made mistakes in the past, as we all have, he is not the monster they have painted him to be. It is heartbreaking to see my son judged not for the truth, but for a narrative created out of lies. Sometimes the truth and a lie become so closely intertwined that it becomes terrifying to admit one part of the story, especially when the truth is outside of the norm or is too complicated to be believed. What does that mean? What truth are you referring to that is so complicated and outside of the norm that it's hard to be believed? What do you know, Janice? What do you know? Because that sounds like you're referring to something very specific that you know about. Ultimately, it's my opinion that Janice Combs is completely complicit in the actions of her son, to the point where she is and has been enabling his behavior. And I definitely think that we'll be finding out really soon the extent of her involvement, as well as just how much she really knew about the deplorable actions of Diddy. Unfortunately, when speaking about family ties and behavior, we have to address Christian Combs. Christian Combs has had a lawsuit levied against him with eerily similar behavior to that of his father, Sean Combs. Christian Combs was accused in a lawsuit of both sexually and physically assaulting a woman named Grace O'Marque. Sorry if I pronounced your last name wrong. This all took place on a yacht during a family holiday trip to St. Martin in 2022, and Grace worked as a stewardess on this yacht. Grace claimed that this yacht was filled with intoxicated people, suspected sex workers, celebrities, and drugs, which, if true, is horrible to think about the fact that Diddy threw his own child into that environment. Grace also believed that the drinks served for her and other workers on board were spiked. She believes this because she saw people falling over themselves, panicking, and passing out. Christian Combs, who was 26 at the time, allegedly insisted that Grace drink with him, and then he became violent. He was grabbing her arm when she tried to leave. According to the lawsuit, Christian tried to force himself onto Grace. Lil Rod was there to witness the whole incident and even filmed the assault happening. Grace also claimed that a complaint that she filed with the ship's captain was not taken seriously, and alleges that Sean Combs paid a hefty tip to the ship's crew to keep her allegations quiet. While I'm outraged by the actions of Christian Combs, it's very clear that he's been exposed to this behavior from a very young age, and it seems it's been completely normalized for him. All of it is extremely tragic.
One thing he said about Diddy was that Diddy wants to party, but you gotta tell him no.
Oh yeah, well you do gotta tell him no. You gotta tell him no. You gotta tell him no. You gotta tell Diddy no. Everybody knows you gotta tell him no, because if you don't tell him no, he's gonna put you in a situation where you will have to say yes or no again. So just say no. Just say no. Just say no.
Even after Diddy was arrested, more and more disturbing information would come out. The story continues to go deeper and deeper with more to uncover, and I'm sure even after this video is posted, there will be even more victims coming forward. Roughly a week after the indictment became public, Talia Graves sued Sean Combs. Talia alleges that he and his bodyguard R-worded her, and even showed a video of the attack to others.
The internal pain after being has been incredibly deep and hard to put into words. It goes beyond just physical harm caused by and during the assault. It's a pain that reaches into your very core of who you are and leaving emotional scars that may never fully heal. Some of the hardest parts of this pain are the shame and the guilt I have experienced that plays a negative part in my day-to-day ability to function properly. Being blamed, questioned, and threatened has often made me feel worthless, isolated, and sometimes responsible for what happened to me.
A Florida model who was not specifically named also filed a lawsuit against Sean Combs, alleging that he paid for her to travel overseas with him for years, pressured her to have with other men and women, and gave her substances to make her pass out. The lawsuit alleges that in one of these instances at Sean Combs' house in Los Angeles, she ended up getting impregnated, and according to the lawsuit, the pregnancy ended in a miscarriage. The theories that Diddy would film, unconsensually film, everything that happened during these freak-offs to utilize as blackmail seems to be true as more and more reports surface that these tapes are being passed around and shopped between people in the industry. A report came out after Diddy Diddy was in jail that these tapes are now being sold off, especially if they contain high-profile people. A lawyer for a new Sean Diddy Combs accuser, Ariel Mitchell Kidd, claims that she's been contacted about the sale of one of the Diddy tapes, which is allegedly a P-content video featuring both Diddy and someone even more high-profile than Diddy.
I also was just recently contacted by someone who wanted me to essentially represent them in the sale of one of the Diddy tapes. So, which I declined that because...
Wait a minute, say that again. Say that again, back up. You're saying that there's tapes and they're being shopped?
Yes, there have been people already shopping.
We've heard about the tapes, but
yes.
The shopping thing is...
Yes, there already have been tapes leaking around Hollywood, being shopped around to individuals in Hollywood. But one particular person contacted me.
There are now people in the industry privately going around obtaining these P-content videos with victims in them.
One particular person contacted me to shop a particular video they were in possession of and to contact the person who was in the video to see if they were interested in purchasing the video before it became a public knowledge.
I've heard this before. Can you, and I guess you can't reveal the person who is on
No,
this
I can't
tape.
Explain who the person was, but Mr.
High profile?
Mr. Combs was in the tape, and this other person is, I would venture to say, more high profile than Mr. Combs.
Really? Really? And you've seen it?
I've seen stills of the video.
Okay.
So
you can verify
that it exists, that it's real, that the other person in the video is very visible. It's no question if it's that person in the video, and I can tell the video was graphic in nature.
The same lawyer who was contacted about the tapes also claims she was contacted by a new client who was R-worded by Sean Combs in 2018. This client even filed a police report about it at the time. The victim was at a friend's house who had music industry ties, and Diddy decided to come to the house at the time. The victim learned that Sean Combs was planning on trafficking her when he arrived.
He was at a friend's house who had industry ties and was on the phone with Diddy, and he decided to come to the house. And when he came to the house, everything was fine, that there was another woman there who we've determined to be Christina Coram, KK, who Diddy talks about a lot as his right-hand woman, if you will, and that they were discussing trafficking her. And then that led to her being served a drink where then she started to feel woozy, and then Mr. Combs sexually assaulted her.
But luckily, the victim was able to escape running into the street, which was viewed by a neighbor.
A neighbor heard her because this happened in a quiet suburban neighborhood, if you will.
So there's a witness?
Yes, we have a witness. We also have a police report, and that was made in 2018.
Then, on October 1st, the case of Diddy gets even more shocking, with 120 victims coming forward, levying allegations of sexual abuse and exploitation, some of these victims even being minors. 120 people all got together to create an 120-person lawsuit against Diddy. Tony Busby, who's representing this case, said in a statement, "This is the beginning of what I hope to be a national dialogue." So Tony Busby expects his firm to file a case on behalf of 120 people. These 120 people are an equal number of men and women. Tony Busby even says that there are other perpetrators who are involved in this who will shock you. Most of the cases are expected to be filed in New York and California and will be filed in the next month. 25 of the 120 people were minors. These minors were seeking a career in the music or television industries at the time the abuse occurred, according to Tony Busby.
It is evenly divided between males and females. There are 60 males and 60 females. When we talk about the ages of the victims when the conduct occurred, it's shocking. Our youngest victim at the time of the occurrence was 9 years old. We have an individual who was 14 years old. We have one who was 15.
In some cases, the victims were given a drink that they suspected was laced. The youngest of the victims was a 9-year-old boy.
This individual, who was 9 years old at the time, was taken to an audition in New York City with Bad Boy Records. This individual was used allegedly by Sean Combs and several other people at the studio in the promise to both his parents and to him himself of getting a record deal.
In another incident, Tony Busby says that a 15-year-old boy was Sean Combs told this 15-year-old boy that he would make him a star, but that this boy needed to visit him privately away from his parents. He then R-worded the boy.
Another instance, another minor, told allegedly by Sean Combs that he would make him a star, but he needed to visit with him in private about it, away from his parents.
Tony Busby also claimed that some of his clients are already in contact with the FBI. Another 7-person lawsuit came to light, including one woman who alleges that in the year 2000, when she was only 13 years old, she was drugged and R-worded by Diddy and another celebrity. In September of the year 2000, when she was 13, she was dropped off by a friend to attend the MTV Video Music Awards.
She could try to attend the VMAs. And this was during the time that J-Lo and Diddy were dating when we watched them attend the VMAs together September 7th, 2000 in New York City.
This Jane Doe was trying to get into an after party and was approaching different limousine drivers when one of the limousine drivers who worked for Diddy said that Diddy liked young girls and she was what he was looking for. The driver brought her to a large white house and she was asked to sign an NDA, which is not valid if you are 13 years old. She didn't even get a copy of the document. Not to bring my own story or experiences into this, but I know for a fact to this day, trying to get underage girls to sign NDAs at after parties, particularly in Hollywood nightlife, is very prevalent, even now, or back in 2016 at least. And at this after party, this young girl was drugged and then R-worded in extremely horrific ways, with allegedly 2 other celebrities apart from Diddy also participating in the act. In the lawsuit, there's also a John Doe who's a celebrity personal trainer. He claims he was sexually assaulted on June 27th of 2022. One of his clients told him that Diddy wanted to feature him in a video after seeing clips of one of his workouts. So he ended up attending a Diddy party. Again, when he entered this after party up in the Hollywood Hills, he was asked to sign an NDA but never given a copy. He was handed a beverage and ordered to drink it in order to enter the party. He was then led to a smaller room where he saw dozens of individuals, including high-profile people, engaging in intimate activities. He began to feel disoriented and then was essayed by Diddy. There are many other terrible stories featured in these lawsuits, like the story of a man who had a professional business relationship with Diddy, then was invited to a party, brought into his office, and then essayed by him.
This man claims once he arrived to the party, he saw many high-profile guests and he took photographs of Diddy and these other high-profile celebrities sitting on the couch discussing Chirac business. And these are the photos that he took. And Diddy's face is scaring the crap out of me. He's like, why are you taking this photo? I wish so badly that these faces weren't covered. This man claimed that Diddy invited him into his private office and he thought that they were going to discuss business. However, he realized that Diddy was intoxicated and acting strangely.
The situation escalated until an unidentified professional athlete entered the room and intervened. Every story of a survivor is extremely important. I know personally with my own life, there's been many experiences that I've had immense fear talking about and even opening up about. I can't imagine the courage it takes to go forward with your story publicly, especially with such a high-profile public case like Diddy's. And every day there are more and more victims coming forward and speaking about the horrific actions displayed by Sean Diddy Combs. And many of these stories line up so similarly, so exactly, that it's clear that Sean Combs had a systematic way of abusing people. And I think it's fair to say at this point that there's no terrible crime that Sean Combs wouldn't have committed. No new low that he wouldn't go. One of the most shocking recent allegations that may even bring some legitimacy to the theories that Diddy is behind the unaliving or attempted unaliving of many industry people are the recent allegations that Diddy poisoned Jamie Foxx. Celebrity bodyguard Big Homie CC was the first one to come out with these claims in a YouTube interview, saying that Diddy poisoned Jamie Foxx and that because of that, Jamie Foxx went to the FBI. In April of 2023, Jamie Foxx had an undisclosed medical emergency, and many people believe that this is what's being referenced in connection with the allegations that Diddy poisoned Jamie Foxx, which led to his medical emergency.
There is a celebrity bodyguard that has been speaking about this for over a year, and he recently just did an interview right before this information dropped, speaking on it again, and he said the information was about to come out.
Well, I know he poisoned Jamie Foxx. and Jamie Foxx reported him to the FBI because of it. I know that's a fact.
Wait, you're saying that Diddy poisoned Jamie Foxx and that's how Jamie Foxx got sick?
Jamie Foxx reported this man to the FBI because of this.
Is there any idea why Diddy would want to poison Jamie Foxx?
You get called to testify. If you on camera and some of this footage, and you want to make it a little bit easier for yourself, it's ways in this industry people go about doing things. For sure.
It's also being alleged that Jamie Foxx is going to talk about this in his upcoming Netflix comedy special.
In Jamie Foxx's upcoming Netflix comedy special, he made a startling claim that Diddy was behind the stroke that he suffered a year ago. He went into detail about what happened before, during, and after his health scare, and then looked at the audience and said Diddy was responsible for my stroke.
Throughout Diddy's entire career, there has been rampant speculation that he's been involved in the deaths of many people, like in the case of Kim Porter, whose official cause of death was pneumonia, which many people did not believe, or the claims that Al B. Sure made against Diddy, saying that he was the reason he ended up in a coma. In the wake of all of the newest information, Sean Combs' children released a joint statement on Instagram, yet again defending their father and their family. The statement reads, "The past month has devastated our family. Many have judged both him and us based on accusations, conspiracy theories, and false narratives that have spiraled into absurdity on social media. We stand united, supporting you every step of the way. We hold on to the truth, knowing it will prevail, and nothing will break the strength of our family. We miss you and love you, Dad." Quincy Combs, Sean Combs' stepson, along with all of this publicity, has begun to promote his new YouTube family vlog series, which looks like it'll include footage of Diddy. Tone deaf much? What kind of dystopian world is this, where literally hundreds of victims have come forward against your father, and you decide that's a good time to come out with a family vlog channel?
Is just like yours. Right now I got $4.6 million. Well, not after this moment. Instagram new update thing. I'm always doing something. That's what makes this life a journey.
One person in the comment section wrote, "This is the stupidest idea ever. I don't know if this is the move. If my family was in this kind of hot water, my vlogs would be nothing but me reading Winnie the Pooh scriptures." I mean, is the move really to come out with a YouTube channel and make a "my life is pretty crazy" style family vlog channel after so many of your family's SA allegations are coming to light? Can we not think this one through? For now, Sean Combs is in jail awaiting trial since he was denied bail and allegedly wants to testify himself. And as he waits for his trial, more and more people continue to come forward, telling their stories about the horrific actions of Sean Combs, the empire he built around abuse, and the people both involved in and complicit in it all.
It ain't no way that he gonna go down, you understand, and not take nobody with him. His father was because he ratted out his team that he was working for. So you think he not gonna rat? Like father, like son, brother. That's what I believe.
Diddy's attorneys have publicly expressed concern over Sean Combs' safety. He's currently jailed in the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, New York, which is apparently a notoriously dangerous jail. I mean, Diddy's acted all tough to all of his victims. Now he's running scared. His lawyers say, "The food is inedible, from what I've been told. It's violent. Someone like Mr. Combs might be a target for certain things. We can't let that happen." We can't? You sure? Several former inmates of Metropolitan Detention Center discussed their experiences in the jail with Us Weekly. Compared to Diddy's old life with his $35 million, 8,000 square foot mansion in Miami, where he's been protected by private security guards and surrounded by friends and family, his new life looks a little bit different. An inmate who spent 3 months in MDC in 2019 told Us Weekly, "It's a terrible, horrible place. There's no air movement and the food is slop. Prisoners are guarded around the clock and there's fluorescent lights and cameras on 24 hours a day. You get searched every time you leave your cell. Inmates believed to be a threat to themselves are given rubber shoes and special eating utensils, and personal hygiene products like toothbrushes have to be authorized."
Life could be worse.
Think about it. It could be worse.
If convicted, Diddy faces anywhere from 15 years in prison. Though with more and more information coming out, I'm personally wondering if more charges will be added on, or new cases will come out further tying up Diddy in the legal process.
How much time is Diddy looking at? All of it.
And somehow, Diddy's lawyers are confident that if they go to trial, they can win. I believe he's innocent of the charges, Mark Agnifilo said. And he's going to go to trial, and I believe he's going to win. The story of Sean Combs should feel like a shocking story, where in the end, justice is being served, and public figures alike are all coming together to stand with the victims. But at least to me, it doesn't really feel that way. Instead, I'm left with the feeling that after Sean Combs is gone, another will fill the void, stand in his place, unless systemically there's more general acceptance of victims' stories. Unless we all get more comfortable standing against systems of power and standing alongside victims. I think there are many people who can relate to this story of being victimized by someone or something, trying to come forward or lightly speaking on it, and then having those around them protect the abuser in the dynamic, all just because that abuser is in the powerful position and is protecting people around them in their close circle. And the people in that abuser's close circle are benefiting from enabling them. This entire dynamic is what continues to enable abusers, in my opinion, though I'm certainly not an expert. And it's how entire industries end up protecting abusers instead of lifting up new voices. And that's how the depraved Sean Diddy Combs became the music industry's worst nightmare. Thank you so much for watching this video and making it all the way to the end. If you did, let me know what videos you want to see up next. I'm currently working on a Mr. Beast video coming up, but we definitely have a lot of ideas, and I love all of your suggestions because it inspires me to look into new stories and new information. I hope you are all doing well despite the dark subject matter of this video. I appreciate you all, and I'll see you all in the next video. Stay well until then. Bye!